Part 256. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2560. But today, he discovered that he had only conquered a few hundred kilometers of the Xinbei kingdom. You must know that the Xinbei kingdom was thousands of kilometers long from east to west. If he didn't speed up, he would have exceeded his original plan by a lot. The beautiful girl was also below, listening to Jia Yan's speech above. She secretly looked around at the senior officials who were listening to Jia Yan's speech with her. Among the senior officials who had only seen it in books or on TV before, no one dared to refute Jia Yan, who spoke eloquently and criticized these senior officials. The young man seemed quite arrogant, but with such an expression, the people below could only accept it. And she finally understood that this young man seemed to be arrogant when he spoke, but he had a unique aura about him that made those who listened to him involuntarily think that he was not bragging, nor was he alone. Some kind of arrogance is just a truly powerful person telling some facts. At this moment, this secretary girl finally changed to another mentality. That is to say, I feel extremely admirable for the young man in front of me. It only took a few days to invade hundreds of kilometers of the Xinbei kingdom. You must know that although the boy himself is not satisfied, it is believed that a large number of people in the Black Kingdom have already changed directly because of his achievements. Because of his reputation, he believed that Jia Yan could solve the problem of Xinbei kingdom. In other words, Jia Yan's approach, which was originally frowned upon, is being accepted by a large number of people because of his actual combat capabilities, and militants are constantly signing up to join the army. It is said that Mr. Jia Yan is even planning more conscription matters, and is even preparing to go on camera in person to release a large number of conscription videos and advertisements, presumably to prepare for the next more difficult war in the Xinbei kingdom. Although this girl was also born as a soldier, she still thought too little. The scale of Jia Yan's conscription was not intended to convince Baiguo, but to declare war on all the surrounding countries. And the act of conscription, in the recent Xinbei kingdom, is like dropping a stone. Oh no, it is a giant meteorite mountain. How is this possible? Our country's finances are not strong. Why do we need to conduct such a large-scale military conscription? Crazy. This so-called deputy marshal is crazy, and so are the people above. Why should we trust him so much? It is said that this person gave the superiors a military order, saying that the entire Xinbei kingdom would be conquered immediately, and the superiors actually believed it. If we fight fast, that's fine. If we don't fight fast, our country will be doomed. Everyone knows that militancy will not work. In history, those countries that resorted to militancy have always fallen apart. In the end, even the entire people were massacred by the enemy. But this time, they believed that the Black country was unreasonable and had a man. After the young deputy marshal appeared out of nowhere, he actually embarked on the path of militarism. Originally, I believed that the development of the Black country was pretty good, but after the large-scale conscription began in recent days, both the stock market and the inflation rate continued to rise. The rise and fall of a country has always been more than just the military aspect. The economy also plays a major role, and may even be more important than the value of military force. Jia Yan did not respond to many questions and speculations from the outside world. His ideas are much simpler than those of economists and political scientists who think too much. What these scholars worry about is not impossible, but the solution is also simple. That is fighting to support war. As long as you are strong enough, as long as you fight fast enough and the losses are small enough, then the cost and recovery of this tank will become less than the return. He believed that as long as he fought the previous battle and fought well enough, then even if he wanted to stop, these big figures behind him might urge him to continue fighting. Because these big shots are rewarded. How can people who have tasted the benefits stop expanding their ambitions? Isn't that what human nature is? Human nature is greedy. Although Jia Yan did not live too long, he still had a lifespan of 100 years. In such a long time, he realized this most basic human nature, whether it was ordinary intelligent life in the starry sky or in the sky. None of the great and powerful people in the central star field of the Milky Way can break away from this iron rule of human nature, greed. Even if there are some philanthropists, don't they still covet this kind of reputation? In short, it is impossible for people without greed to exist. There can only be more and less, good and evil. Boom. How could it be? Why are the soldiers of Xinhe Kingdom so fierce as if they were in a new army? Damn it, it's all a matter of combat rhythm and propulsion method. This kind of combat method is something we have never heard of. Could this be the ability of the so-called Deputy Marshal of Nobue Kingdom? It's like he has seen through everything, including our reactions. Why does this monster-like existence appear in the Xinhe Kingdom? If only we, the people of the Xinbei Kingdom, would be better. Stop talking so much. If we don't stop them, the risk of annihilation of the country and species is right in front of us. We must stop them. Boom 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 boom. Devoured by artillery fire, one or two of the important towns seemed to have no ability to resist. Under the advance of the Nobukoku troops, they were destroyed as if they were walking on flat ground. The people of the Xinbei Kingdom couldn't believe it. Even the people of the Xinhe Kingdom felt that this war was magically one-sided. The Xinbei Kingdom had changed and was fighting fiercely with them, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. Whose situation has become that of a crushed camel, so they can directly hang him up and beat him. Completely crushed. The soldiers and higher UPS of the Nobue Kingdom discovered that as long as they followed the deputy marshal's commanding methods, they could often easily cut open the enemy and then turn it into several small modules to devour them with their own absolute superiority. This is a true art of war skill that can only be developed in a normal universe. In this imperfect world, such art of war skills do not exist at all. In other words, this is a world calculated by an intelligent brain. No matter how advanced it is, how can it compare with the real world? So when Jia Yan entered the military circle of this world with some external military formation capabilities, it was like a dimensionality reduction strike, quickly consuming all the enemy's counter-attack capabilities. When the war entered half a month, the entire international community, including Nobuhiro and Nobue themselves, were frightened by the progress of this war. The entire Xinbei Kingdom has almost turned into the Xinbei Kingdom. Except for the most remote borders, there are still some resistance forces. In most areas, it seems that the armed forces of the Xinbei Kingdom have been wiped out and turned into all occupied by Nobue country. In other words, 2 days ago, when the Nobue Kingdom opened the city gate of the Nobuhiro Kingdom's capital, Nobubai Castle, which was guarded by the city, they rushed in and killed all the top officials of the Nobuhiro Kingdom. Rise. This believed that the Bai Kingdom had been destroyed. The whole process was as smooth as a fairy tale. All the forces and armies of the Xinbei Kingdom were silent. During this period, the Xinhe Kingdom and the neighboring countries around the border of the Xinbei Kingdom, which had been preparing to move and even increase their troops on the border, seemed to have suddenly seen something unbelievable. Became silent and silent. They were all frightened. With such a terrifying Xinhe army and such a terrifying deputy marshal, they thought that even their own country might not be able to resist. The only hope is that the people of Xinbei Kingdom will think that this battle consumes too many national resources and enter a stable period. After all, the area of Xinbei Kingdom is about the same size as that of Xinbei Kingdom. If they want to digest Xinbei Kingdom, I am afraid that you need to believe that the Black Country has spent countless years of hard work. At the same time, the entire Xinhe Kingdom was stunned for a short time, and then it was as if everyone came back to their senses from petrification. They suddenly accepted that their country had used the power of thunder to completely destroy the Xinbei Kingdom, which was still in tit for tat with the motherland. And the person who brought such a great victory to his country was none other than a young graduate from an ordinary college in Xinhe Kingdom, Deputy Marshal Jia Yan. For a time, the whole country was jubilant, especially after watching the live TV broadcast of Jia Yan's announcement that the entire Bai Kingdom would be liberated. Jia Yan originally looked quite ordinary, but now he has a different temperament and a hidden secret. Show off your handsome face and become a national idol face. His photos, as well as personal images, were posted everywhere, and he was admired by countless young girls. The teenagers regard him as their idol and keep working hard. Moreover, Jia Yan also said that the best way to get close to him is to join the army. That's right, even after reaching this point today, after capturing the entire Xinbei Kingdom, the recruitment of troops from the Xinhe Kingdom has not stopped yet. Jia Yan didn't say the reason on live TV, but anyone who thinks about it carefully will immediately think of the reason with horror. That is, after the Xinhe Kingdom destroyed the entire Xinbei Kingdom in half a month, it still refused to stop. Jia Yan's conscription declaration was like a declaration of war. He had not fought enough yet and would continue to fight. Marshal Jia Yan, your latest appointment has been made. You will no longer be the deputy marshal. From now on, you will have the same status as the general marshal. Under the name of Marshal Yan, you will become one of the only marshals in our country. And the Generalissimo has also stated that the main command of the future army will be handed over to you. The girl who was assigned to be Jia Yan's secretary no longer had any doubts when she saw Jia Yan again. Even the way he looked at Jia Yan was full of all kinds of charming expressions. Yes, as long as she is a girl, how can she not be emotional when seeing such an outstanding man? Although Jia Yan is not too handsome, he has an outstanding temperament and a good-looking face. I really want to compare him with such a strong-willed and temperamental young man. Compared with fresh meat, it has much more flavor, okay. What's more, his status, his fame, his wealth, and his seemingly domineering, but actually exhaustive, and sophisticated emotional intelligence. It would be unacceptable if the secretary didn't have feelings for Jia Yan. Oh? Marshal. Haha, it doesn't matter whether you give or not, they just take advantage of the situation. Jia Yan should have been happy when he heard the news, but in the girl's eyes, he didn't look too excited. How come a man who is so unfazed by favors and humiliations is many years younger than my mother? How can one start? Will he like someone older than himself? For a time, the girl who wanted to seduce Jia Yan became lost and had many things on her mind. If Jia Yan knew about this, he would probably say to this girl, "Little girl, you really think too much, I am more than enough to be your grandfather." Of course, if he knew, he wouldn't say anything, because for him, this is just another life experience. He also doesn't intend to have any emotional interactions with other women, because mentally he doesn't want to in this way. Regardless of the sentimental girl, Jia Yan took out a map of the surrounding area and pointed out several countries that he continued to conquer. Then, while the girl was stunned, he proposed something that she had never thought of. "Come, take a look. The countries I pointed out are the places I plan to conquer next. My original intention is to include all the 15 countries that are neighboring countries to the 2 countries. In the next round of war, but I still feel it's not good, you say, then I only fight 12, doesn't it make sense?" Ah! The girl was stunned. Although he had known for a long time that Jia Yan's next great ambitions were definitely beyond the imagination of ordinary soldiers like them, but as soon as he opened his mouth, he said that he would make so many enemies in one breath. This. How should I ask her to answer? I don't know either. Marshal, you can make your own decision, but... The girl faltered. If she had heard such words half a month ago, she might have retorted directly. But today, she has seen Jia Yan's ability, and she still has a little bit of emotion that whatever the person she likes does is right, so she won't say too much. But even if there were so many emotions dominating her, she would still say what she wanted to say. But Lord Marshal Yan, are you sure that you want to fight wars involving more than 10 countries at once? We believe that the national strength of the black country is probably far less than. She didn't dare to speak too fiercely, but chose her words carefully. Needless to say, I will definitely choose to attack more than 10 countries, and I will not lose. You will know if you watch. Jia Yan knew that this vulgar woman was going to speak some military jargon to him again, and it was the military jargon of this world, so he suddenly became less interested. Yes, I understand, then I will retreat. Jia Yan internally praised her as a vulgar girl, so the secretary reluctantly resigned. It takes a genius to remember the address of this website in 1 second. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2561. In fact, as Jia Yan's secretary, she was originally promoted from the front line. At the beginning, many young ladies in the industry were ridiculing her, but now, with Jia Yan's successive victories, her status has also risen. When she walks out and says that she is Marshal Yan's secretary, others will immediately stand in awe. Even the soldiers, including the original generals, will salute her. Who doesn't know that a secretary who is next to a big shot may be the person next to the big shot, and may play a decisive role in their promotion and impression in the mind of the big shot? Therefore, as the person who can be said to be the closest to the Marshal Yan, this girl has been sought after by all aspects recently. After all, the aloof Marshal Yan seems to have been the only one except the Grand Marshal so far. It was difficult for anyone to talk to him on an equal footing. Even if several so-called consultants, that is, military governors, came to the capital, Jia Yan would not pay attention to them. Therefore, apart from the general marshal, the only secretary who could have a long conversation with Jia Yan became the most popular figure. It's a pity that Luohua is ruthless and no one knows that Jia Yan doesn't mean anything to this little girl. What? Marshal Jia Yan asked you to issue an order to prepare the entire army to fight against the 12 major countries at the same time. Did you hear it clearly? When the little secretary once again issued Jia Yan's order to the people below, the entire staff command post was silent. Although they had already guessed that the next goal of this young marshal, who was unique in both ability and personality, was absolutely unexpected. But I still didn't expect that Jia Yan actually issued an order to fight against the 12 countries at the same time. This is simply. It's incredibly bold, and it seems impossible to win. Okay. This marshal really wants to destroy Xinhe Kingdom, but also wants Xinhe Kingdom to rise to the top. It's really confusing. If you want to support Nobue Kingdom for thousands of years, then why you issue such an order that is impossible to win is simply whimsical. And if you want to harm the Xinhe Kingdom, you shouldn't have won so beautifully in the previous battle with the Xinbei Kingdom. As long as you show a flaw, the Xinhe Kingdom would have been doomed long ago. So, what is he thinking? It is impossible to execute this order. Let us talk to the marshal in person, otherwise this order will be rejected by all members of our staff. The Chief of Staff's reply was simple and reasonable. So it didn't take long for 5 representatives of the staff, including the Chief of Staff himself, to enter Jia Yan's office. No one knew what these people were plotting in the office. In short, when these 6 people walked out of the office, they all seemed to be so amazingly stimulated, and they became eager to try. It was obvious that no matter what pie they heard, they were convinced that they were convinced. When this group of staff officers returned to the staff headquarters, their emotions soon spread to many staff officers. They collectively seemed to have been given a shot of chicken blood. Each one of them gasped and began to no longer refute, but to carry out their duties loyally. Every order from Marshal Yan. No one knew what the famous young marshal said to the representatives of the staff in his office. In short, from this day on, all the staff officers of the entire front army, that is, a group of people who originally restricted Jia Yan, began to become his die-hard forces, and became obedient and secretive to the orders above. Although all the upper echelons of the Black Country knew very well, and even had a rough guess about what Marshal Yan said, they were unable to do anything about it. Because this Jia Yan has established unprecedented prestige in the entire Xinhe kingdom, not to mention that he holds military power, and even his own strength is unfathomable. In addition, the superiors have thought that this Jia Yan may be related to the forces in the starry sky, so I dare not go against them even more. In this way, any obstacles that Jia Yan had in this country disappeared, and he was able to let go and do everything he wanted to do. For example, declare war with the 12 surrounding countries. That's right, it's a grand declaration of war. 12 countries all use the same name. When they were at war with Xinbei Kingdom, these countries had supported Xinbei Kingdom openly or covertly. Now Jia Yan is about to settle the accounts. As soon as this news came out, the whole world was shocked. You know, although this area is not a prosperous place on the continent, the Xinhe Kingdom and the Xinbei Kingdom, plus the areas of these 12 countries, account for almost 1/3 of the entire continent. On this planet, there are only 5 similar continents. In such a large area, Jia Yan declared war on 12 other countries with the power of one country, which is definitely world-class news. Even the sporadic small-scale wars on several other continents cannot attract much attention. On the first day of the declaration of war, Jia Yan did not wait for the reaction of the 12 countries. He directly sent millions of soldiers, divided into 12 routes. Each route was a country on the opposite side. The seemingly weak troops went to make a surprise attack. Enemy. You must know that this is only a few 100,000 troops. The weaker ones among the 12 countries, even if they are weaker than the original Xinbei Kingdom, are definitely not much weaker. And the stronger ones are slightly more powerful than the combined strength of the Xinbei Kingdom and the Xinhe Kingdom. But under such circumstances, Jia Yan still used the method of dividing his troops to fight. Such behavior made people who knew military skills call him an idiot and were dumbfounded by his behavior. The famous Xinhe Kingdom Jia Yan, the marshal who conquered the entire Xinbei Kingdom in a blitzkrieg for half a month, could he be such a fool? Anyone who believes that he is a fool will probably go to hell long ago. The troops and senior officials of the 12 countries also immediately came up with the idea that Jia Yan was a fool, and restrained this idea. For this young boy who suddenly appeared and rose strongly from the Xinhe Kingdom, they all had no idea. I dare not be too careless. No matter how exaggerated or impossible the decision he made, it should not be considered impossible. For example, when Jia Yan said he would attack and capture the Xinbei Kingdom, the intelligence analysis organizations in these countries thought it was impossible, but what happened? Actually a slap in the face. Now this Jia Yan has once again gone against the grain, coming with the power of a country. Oh no, this is not a complete power of a country. In the Xinhe Kingdom, there is also an army of tens of thousands of people belonging to other countries. The troops are guarding several other frontiers. Attack 12 countries with the number of troops of a main force? It seems like an impossible idea, but because it was proposed by Jia Yan, it has to be taken seriously. In short, no matter how much attention was paid to it, the war that filled 1/3 of the continent was still fought. And it was in full swing from the beginning. It was not that Xinyi Kingdom was just whimsical as everyone imagined, but that they really had such strength. Because Jia Yan had already distributed a large amount of resources when he ended the battle to destroy the Xinbei Kingdom. Then he also took advantage of the uniqueness of local cultivation abilities, directly referring to yin and yang dao, and modified several types of magic. Or fighting spirit, or cultivation, or some method of cultivating weird abilities. These methods do not take a long time to see the effect, but each one directly allows the cultivator to quickly cultivate a small amount of counter force that belongs only to them at the original level of strength, that is, yin force. And after the collision of yin and yang, this learner's instant explosive power. It would be quite scary. This is a way for him to quickly increase the combat effectiveness of the entire army. And this is just part of his various improvement regulations. In other places, he personally used remote communication methods to direct any small battle. If there are too many strong men in the enemy army, he will use your current body to quickly teleport to the battlefield and resolve the crisis. You know, after Jia Yan solved the Xinbei kingdom, he took nearly half of the entire Xinbei kingdom's resources to the Xinhe kingdom, and handed over another part to strengthen the entire army. They were directly digested by him. Originally, some of the power of digestion was the black energy from his own body, which was absorbed extremely quickly. As for the other large part of the white energy, it took a little time, but because of his transformed body, the body, whether from the body or the soul point of view, belongs to the local people, so it is absorbed and completely accepted by the energy. Of course, Jia Yan's body also helped a little bit in this absorption, that is, it promoted the absorption of energy. Without letting the white dolphin creatures discover it, Jia Yan has become stronger. Of course, compared to the vast energy of this god space, it is still far behind. Therefore, with the fighting power of this body, he could already single-handedly destroy the 12 surrounding countries, but he was unwilling to do so. Until you are strong enough, if you can avoid attracting the white dolphins, you might as well not attract them. Besides, don't you waste energy in fighting? He was reluctant to do so. The battle between one country and 12 countries lasted for half a month. During this half-month, all the countries on the planet watched the war here with great nervousness. Originally, all military experts believed that this seemingly funny war would lead to a lightning defeat for the Xinhe kingdom. In order to end, and the entire war will not last for a week, because the Nobue kingdom is as defenseless as a baby in front of the military of the 12 nations. But these words were still being recorded. After only half a month, these experts were all silent. Because within half a month, Nobue kingdom, which was supposed to be defeated due to a huge disparity in military strength, did not retreat after the battle for so long. On the contrary, no matter which front was pushed into the enemy's territory, within. That's a whole 12 countries. None of the resistance forces on the 12 fronts is weaker than Jia Yan's entire army. They are often a force of hundreds of thousands from the Xinhe kingdom, fighting against the enemy's million-strong army. The difference in numbers was more than 10 times, but Xinyi kingdom regarded them as evenly matched, and in Xinyi kingdom, the reservists who had undergone brief training, after undergoing the new martial IWA training process, began to continuously replenish themselves into each branch. The troops, then, there was a magical scene on the battlefield where one was fighting 10, and the enemy's side was defeated 10 times. All the countries on the planet were stunned, and no one knew how the Black Country could do this. But even if others don't know it, the top officials in Xinhe country completely understand the reason. All this, even if they know why, still feels like a myth. Every battle is personally and remotely directed by Jia Yan. He has a lot of command energy to control how the battle unfolds in small classes. Even when it comes to how to transport baggage, how to avoid enemy sneak attacks, and how to counter-attack incoming enemies, he understands everything like a god. And everyone who knows Jia Yan knows very well that this genius marshal, after only reading the combat information every time, it was as if he knew what the enemy was planning to do and directly gave him a response strategy, and he guessed it right every time. How can we fight such a war? Even if there is a difference of more than 10 times in military strength, but the command level of the two sides is not at the same level at all. The difference in strength may not only be one level, but 5 times, 10 times, or even 100 times. Who can defeat such a marshal with such a huge gap in command ability, such a terrible unity of action, and such an amazing power in command of an army? In fact, Jia Yan is still a bit troublesome. That is insufficient military strength. Come here and ask why the 500 soldiers I recently requested haven't arrived yet. Jia Yan was in the office. After seemingly finishing a large amount of documents quite simply, he rang the bell and called the secretary who had been on standby. The little secretary entered the office. She looked much more haggard than before, as if she came to Jia Yan not to enjoy high-power treatment, but to be tortured. That's right. She served as a secretary under Jia Yan. Not to mention other things, she had good perseverance even if she didn't get exhausted after conveying a large number of orders. Yes, Marshal Yan. She no longer had any thoughts about Jia Yan. When she saw Jia Yan every day, it was as if she had seen some kind of devil. After all, this adult was so energetic. She only helped convey orders, but she was already so tired every day. I can't even get out of bed. She was really scared. Anyone who wanted to follow such a man should follow him, but she didn't dare. Thinking of this, the secretary who had just reached the office door felt weak at his feet, fell to the ground with a thud, and finally fainted from exhaustion. Hey, come here, help her down to rest, and give me a secretary with more perseverance. This won't work. Jia Yan let out a long sigh and said to the guard again helplessly. This incident caused rumors to spread throughout the military camp again. It takes a genius to remember the address of this website in 1 second. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2562. That is because Marshal Yan was so young and so energetic that the beautiful secretary fainted from exhaustion. Marshal Yan himself also lost interest in the secretary and said he wanted to replace him. Oh, you said this is driving? Only people who have bad thoughts in their own minds will think that whatever others say is just driving, okay. In short, starting today, the all-powerful little secretary who made many people want to please her suddenly fell into disgrace. Many people sympathized with her, but after the secretary woke up and knew that she had escaped from the clutches of the devil, she cried loudly, and unlike others who imagined that she was crying because she lost power, she was completely rejoicing. As for whether the next newcomer will have the same feeling as her, she doesn't care so much. Whoever wants to do this job can do it. I won't accompany you. One country fighting against 12 countries is the most novel and shocking event on this modern planet. And the most exaggerated thing is that the country that did such an incident did not become a clown, but after a head-on conflict with the 12 countries, it became a real confrontation between the 12 countries, and even vaguely, gradually a victorious attitude was achieved. Regardless of whether there will be problems with the supply of troops, in short, today's Jia Yan has really achieved jaw-dropping results. The famous soldiers of the Black Kingdom have become respected by people all over the planet. Of course, for Jia Yan himself, this kind of thing is just a trivial matter. His strength and status do not allow him to do such a trivial thing to himself, and it is impossible for him to be moved in any way. During this period, he was a little concerned about the changes in his relatives in this world. The result is no surprise. Gradually, his family has undergone earth-shaking changes because of him. Whether it is his parents who used to have ordinary jobs and were suddenly promoted to the top of their company by the line of fire, or his little Jiolin, who has a personality like an outside sister. My sister, who became a high-ranking figure in school, gradually developed towards the status of her family members in the outside world. It's interesting. Although I deliberately asked Edisha to write down the family data as faithfully as possible, even I am a little surprised that it looks like this. After Jia Yan deliberately set aside a lot of time to pay attention to his family's problems, he calmly began to pay attention to the war. In fact, when the fight got to this point, he didn't have to worry too much at all, because everything was on the right track. What he was most worried about was that he would not be able to get military power in the early stage and would not get the support of the people. This would cause some twists and turns. It will also consume more of his brain. But at this point, there is no need to worry about the issue of status. I am afraid that the top leaders across the country understand that their rights have been completely deprived of them by a young man like him who has never met them in just this month. No one can threaten his unparalleled status today. He is already the uncrowned king of the Xinhe kingdom. After gaining status, what he faced next was just planetary troops with average combat capabilities. No matter how many countries came, after he gradually promoted and popularized the Onmyeto variant combat mode among his troops, they would not be able to defeat them, presenting too many threats to his army. At this point, I have nothing to do. The pace of the war cannot stop, and I cannot lose. The next step is to see if there are still subordinates from the outside like me on this planet. One of Jia Yan's most ardent purposes was not only to swallow up as much energy as possible from the white dolphin creature, but also to gather his subordinates. You know, these subordinates may be worse off than you are. Although each of them has the power of his own body, after possessing the body of this world, although he can use his own power, once he uses it, his identity will be revealed, because they are different from Jia Yan. The ontology is one of the energy sources of this world. Their power is completely different from any power in this world. Once their identities are revealed, they will be noticed by the white dolphins, and finally escape the energy and come to kill them. Therefore, the subordinates at the moment absolutely do not dare to use any energy. In other words, their bodies in this world may also be killed, or die unexpectedly. If they die, although it will not affect them, the ontology has no impact, but it will make them disconnect from this world and be excluded from this semi-fictional world, which will reduce their combat effectiveness in the final decisive battle. There are about hundreds of planets in this world, all of which are inhabited by humans. This planet may not have other subordinates, but one of them definitely exists. Jia Yan thought of the subordinate who would definitely exist and smiled slightly. Adisha, I know he will definitely place himself near me. It may not be as accurate as being in the same city, but it will definitely be on the same planet. So, where are you? Jia Yan is looking for Edissa, and at the same time he is still guessing what kind of life form Edissa will arrange himself into. You know, this is a key step in Edisha's life transformation. He will definitely arrange himself into a type with unlimited potential. Even if there are flaws in this world, he will definitely arrange it as much as possible so that he can be found in the outer starry sky. The kind that is suitable for material repair defects. Therefore, even if Adissa is here, she will probably become a genius. Tell me to go ahead and let the intelligence department search for the kind of children with excellent talents all over the planet. Oh no, it may be some living creatures. In short, you have to give me your best effort, even if you waste some troops, it doesn't matter. Yes. The latest appointment was another cold and charming little female soldier, but this little female soldier was just a typical soldier who carried out orders tirelessly, so there was nothing to seduce. Jia Yan didn't want to find someone who could seduce him. I'm afraid the person who arranged it had just thought of this and arranged for the female secretary soldier with this personality to come. After the order was conveyed, the entire intelligence department became busy. You know, for the entire Xinhe kingdom, although it only took more than a month, Jia Yan has already transformed into the pillar of the country. No one will have any slight words for this sudden rise of the terrifying god of war. Even if someone dares to say something bad about Jia Yan on the internet, some special agencies may come to visit him the next day. Therefore, the country's favorability towards Jia Yan is astonishingly high. The allocation for the intelligence department actually reached close to 10% of the entire military expenditure, which is an earth-shattering level. Of course, the main mission of this intelligence department, in addition to searching for gifted children all over the planet, is also focused on searching for the customs of all countries on the planet, as well as places that are easy to defend but difficult to attack, and easy to attack and difficult to defend. Finding children is the second priority, but it is also a key intelligence requirement. No one knows what this terrifying young marshal wants those talented children to do, but everyone knows that this marshal who never does boring things will not waste resources like this, so everyone is equal. Take heart. As a result, while collecting all national intelligence, a large amount of intelligence from the planet's major geniuses was continuously received by Jiayan. First of all, Edisha will definitely not let herself become a baby from the beginning, because this has nothing to do with me. Instead, she will compile a life like me, and use his temperament too. I probably won't let myself become an old man or an old woman, I'm definitely younger. As for whether it's some kind of animal, I'm not even sure. After all, I'm just a mosquito in my body. He must have no requirements for this. Maybe become the mosquitoes of this world. Jia Yan has a headache because of his preferences. There are mosquitoes in this world, and mosquitoes suck blood, but they are much more powerful than mosquitoes on the outside world. Some countries are even wiped out by mosquitoes. If Edisha gets used to it, he will. If you choose to be reborn as a mosquito when you start the Edisha as a light and shadow mosquito, it will be quite troublesome to find him. Jia Yan believes that he doesn't want to search among countless large mosquitoes to see if there is one with talent. In that case, he can only let Edisha come to find him. After all, he has such a huge reputation now. If Edisha already has self-awareness, she will know that this is herself. Even the name has not been changed, and even the appearance is all set and written by Edisha. In this world, if he can't find himself, then there is something wrong with him. Maybe this little guy is delayed by something. Jia Yan thought to himself. Far away on another continent on this planet, there is a 5 or 6-year-old girl. The little girl is so cute that she can become a child star immediately after entering the film and television industry. However, because she lives on this continent, this little girl does not have such a high status, and is even a little miserable. Oh, I'm so tired. It turns out that walking is so tiring. Edisha is exhausted. The little girl's rosy face was panting while walking. She carried a basket and sat down to rest on the roadside. Little girl, what's in your basket? Hand it over to me. Suddenly, a tall and powerful man walked out of the roadside with a gun in his hand and pointed it at the little girl. Although he did not think that such a little girl who could not walk clearly would pose any threat to him, it was a habit of people like them to use guns to do things, so they still pointed at the little girl. I won't give it to you. The little girl's pretty eyebrows wrinkled, then she picked up the basket and ran back. Bang bang. Gunshots rang out. But the little girl didn't even look back. She bent down and hid behind a bunker. She looked like a tiger but was lucky enough to dodge 2 bullets, leaving the man who was aiming at her stunned. What's going on? My marksmanship has deteriorated? Or is there something wrong with this little girl's evasive movement? That's not right. The man looked grim for a while, then decided to get closer and aimed at the little girl's little head that quietly protruded from the cover. Let's see if you can avoid it this time. The man pulled the trigger. The little girl shrank her head and saw the bullets rushing past her little head without even hitting a single hair. Big bad guy, I'll fight you. The little girl rushed out from behind the bunker and charged against the strong man's gunfire. Her speed is not very fast, just a little faster than an ordinary 5 or 6-year-old girl, not even as fast as an adult. But when she charged, she had a strange momentum, and the little girl's watery eyes shone with a little bit of data, and data appeared from time to time. Puff. Puff puff. Bullets grazed her little body one after another, and then shot into the soil or wall behind her, but they missed without exception. How could? Peng. The man was about to abandon the gun in a panic and use his body fighting movements, but he didn't expect that the little girl had already hit his chin with her head. There was a clicking sound, and the man's jaw was knocked out of place. The human jawbone is the most fragile. The shaking of the brainstem tissue caused by the shock can easily make people lose consciousness and combat effectiveness. This was the case for the man. Although he did not suffer a fatal blow, he definitely had symptoms of coma. He fell to the ground and silently let go of the gun in his hand. It hurts so much. It turns out this is pain. I didn't even know pain felt like this. It hurts too much. I don't want to fight anymore. The little girl who knocked down the man covered her little head and huddled on the ground, tears rolling down her big eyes. However, she held back the pain when she thought that she was the partner of some extremely powerful being. My little pain is nothing. Mr. Jia Yan has even lost his body before. I have never seen him cry. The swelling on my head is nothing. Adisha, you are the best brain. Humph, now she is no longer Zhinao, she is the smartest little girl. That's right, this little girl is the Adisha who has a new body after arriving in this world. It's not right to say it's rebirth, because this is just a body created by Aditha using her own technology to rewrite her abilities. It's just that unlike it, which was originally an intellectual brain, now she can be regarded as both the outside intellectual brain, Adisha, and the owner of this body, Adisha. In order to have her own life, Adisha put her emotional intelligence and other after transforming into this body, the external intelligence brain Adisha, although still having considerable computing power, will become just an intelligence brain and no longer have complex emotional abilities. Of course, it is impossible for Adisha to let her special characteristics disappear. If she comes out of the mountain, she will still have extremely terrible computing power, and she can also control the Adisha star, etc., but she will only have life. I also want to go find the master. The lovely Disha is still a little kid now, and Adisha's current family is so miserable. I didn't expect that the originally pretty good family would be like this when the master enters this place. The world will be like this in the future. Alas, I made a miscalculation, but I have to take care of my family. If the master knows about it, he will forgive Adisha. It takes a genius to remember the address of this website in 1 second. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2563. The little girl was on another continent and could see the earth-shattering news on the other side of the planet. She even knew that this was her master, and it was Jia Yan who made the news. He didn't even change his name, and the composition of the entire family was exactly the same. I didn't know if it was him, but Adisha was so smart. The brain cannot be called the intelligence brain. But she wasn't ready to go see the owner now. Because after she came to this world, she found that the family she had been looking for suddenly became quite depressed due to a series of changes. Her father fell from a high-ranking entrepreneur to a person who left early and paid off debts late. She is a migrant worker, and her mother is seriously ill. As a result, the family she thought should be relatively easy to leave has become inseparable from her. This is the problem after becoming the real world. Even she cannot predict everything. Once something unexpected happens, it will be difficult to let go of many things. The feeling of fighting just now was very painful. I only have the brain to fight, but not the physique to fight. Adisha must work hard and work hard. But it hurts a lot to practice, and I feel tired. Ouch, what should I do? This little girl, that is, what Adisha looked like after she was reborn. She was not reborn as a mosquito as Jia Yan thought, but a little human girl. She looked 5 or 6 years old and fit her milky voice perfectly. Her milky voice didn't even change her voice. Without looking at her face, even Jia Yan would be hard-pressed to tell whether she had turned into another creature. This is probably the only thing that Adisha thinks about. She doesn't want her status in Jia Yan's mind to change just because she has become a living being. But there were too many things that she didn't expect. For example, she didn't expect that something would happen to her family. Remembering that someone else had given birth to her life and treated her very well, she couldn't leave her home. For example, she didn't expect that this body had pretty good cultivation talents written in it. At least it was pretty good in this world, but it was too painful, tiring and painful to practice. In addition, the cultivation was boring, which made Gigi little girl now became very uncomfortable and did not want to practice. Adisha, are you home? Adisha is home. Mom, are you feeling better? Aditha skipped home and didn't tell anyone that she had encountered any bad guy, because it would only make her family worried. Her mother in this world was lying on the bed, looking quite ill. Adisha regretted that she had known that when looking for a family member for herself, she would have to be optimistic about the possibility of her illness. Because of neglecting this point, her family had an accident just after she woke up, and she could not do without people's care. Wow wow wow, sister, sister, mom, mom. The 2-year-old boy on the side cried. This is Edissa's younger brother in this world. It's just that Edissa thought that even if she left, she would have a younger brother to make up for her departure. Now that her mother is ill, the family is still in trouble. When the financial situation deteriorated, my younger brother became a dragster. I'm here to hug you, don't cry. Aditha trotted over again and picked up this younger brother. Adisha, thank you for your hard work. If you hadn't been so sensible, this family would have collapsed. No, Mom, Adisha has many, many abilities that you all don't know about. Just wait and see, Adisha will not only cure you, but also make the family better. Adisha said confidently. Yeah, my lovely Adisha is getting more and more powerful, like a little adult. Mom smiled teasingly, but a little sadness flashed deep in her eyes. From her point of view, she has a serious illness that will kill her within 6 months, and because her family was deceived by others, the money she owes is not a huge sum that a little girl like Adisha can think of to repay. In other words, there is a high probability that she will die. Her daughter and son will become the lowest class of people for the rest of their lives because of their useless parents. Maybe they will live a life of neither human nor ghost. Thinking of this, she blamed herself. Why didn't she stop her husband when he wanted to invest in so-called big profit businesses? And he still has his own illness. If he had listened to the doctor carefully and investigated clearly, he might not have become so seriously ill. Now that he is seriously ill, it may be impossible to take care of his children. Humph, Mom, don't disbelieve me. I just haven't wanted to show off my power yet. Aditha is very, very powerful. Adisha pouted her little mouth, as if she was dissatisfied that her mother didn't believe her. She is actually the same as Jiayan. She was born older than her mother. It's just because she used to be as Hineo and didn't have so many human affairs. It's not that she's ignorant or that she can't read people's hearts. Mom, she knew what she was thinking about with just a quick glance. Look down on Adisha, Humph, Adisha is not from this world. If you think about it, you can make daddy make money right away, and you can make mommy recover from your illness right away. Aditha just didn't want to. She thinks that her intellectual abilities have not yet recovered, and her calculation power has been greatly reduced. She is much better than ordinary children, but still not as good as a strong person. Now that she is back with her master, she may not be able to help her much. So she didn't want to think about it. After a few more days of sleep, her computing power would catch up. Even if she helped her family, she would be able to do it easily. After all, in this world, her computing power meant invincibility. You can do a lot of things with computing power alone. And perhaps with the help of computing power, cultivation will become quite fast, and then everything will be on the right track. When the time comes, I will go to the master, he will definitely be praised by the master. Like Jiayan, Adisha has a good impression of her family members in this world, but they are definitely not at the level of family members. Her heart is still with Jiayan, which is what the saying goes. If you cry again, my sister will spank you and I won't want you anymore. Adisha picked up her brother, walked to a remote place where no one was, pointed at her brother and said coldly, "Ugh." The younger brother seemed to be used to being treated like this by his elder sister in a place where no one was around. He showed an expression that dared not speak, and lowered his head and dared not speak. Even the crying of a baby can be frightened. It must be said that after turning into a human little girl, Adisha is still a very powerful type. Boom, boom, boom. The door of the house was opened, and a very tired man entered the house. "Dad, you're back, give me a hug." Adisha was the first to rush forward, hugging her father's legs for a hug. Seeing her extremely cute appearance, the man who had accumulated a lot of discomfort and injustice to the world was suddenly cured. He bent down and hugged his lovely daughter. The son on the other side also stumbled forward. Both children were cute enough to become child stars. Thinking of this, the man's heart became much stronger. Didn't he owe a lot of money? He still has his own hands. As long as he works hard, what can't he do? A man who has succeeded, even if he sinks to rock bottom, still has the ability to succeed. Thinking of this, his temper suddenly disappeared. Little did they know, the cute little girl lying on the man's shoulder and being hugged stuck out her tongue. This is one of Aditha's abilities. She has a lot of computing power. Even though she is still far from recovering, she still has a lot of knowledge. She is quite clear about how to manipulate people's hearts. Except for her little brother, no one knew how scary she was. Adisha has made plans. If she is still in contact with this family in a year or two, she will gradually treat her younger brother better, and the children who grow up will forget their childhood memories. So that in the whole world, the bad guy who was defeated by him before may remember that he is terrible. Adisha is Master Jia Yan's dog-headed strategist. Humph, isn't it normal to do such a thing? If we don't talk about money, don't worry about money. The key is how to take good care of your illness. Don't worry about it. The man became gentle. Coming from a big family, he showed his gentle manner and spoke very gently to the woman on the bed. "But my disease can't be cured." The woman was in the hospital bed, watching her husband, who had never done manual labor since he was a child, suddenly start working in a factory. His whole body was unkempt, his fingers became thicker, and there were calluses on them, but he actually cared about her mood and didn't complain about anything. Tears suddenly fell from the corners of his eyes. With such a husband and a sensible daughter, how could she be willing to die? "Don't worry, I heard that there is a hospital on the other side of the planet that can treat your disease. It is said that the hospital in Xinhai country has newly developed surgical capabilities. I will find a way to treat you. You must don't have any mental baggage." The man gently held the woman's wrist. Adisha was on one side, tilting her little head and looking at it. This is probably love. Well, it's very touching. After thinking about it, she stretched out her finger, licked it on her tongue, wiped the saliva under her eyes, grinned as if crying. "Mom, you have to be strong, Adisha will help Dad too." Aditha howled and threw herself on the bed. "Adisha, my dear, and my son, I want to live. I am not willing to die like this, woo woo woo." The woman burst into tears. Aditha left the room not long after, pattering away in her little slippers. She decided to launch herself into a money-making business early on. It happened that her father told her that the country of Xinhai was capable of carrying out an operation to save her mother. She decided to take this as an opportunity to meet her master Jia Yan. Of course, going for surgery is just a purpose. In fact, she knows that even if her mother dies, the master in this world has the ability to save her, and if there is still one breath left, she can use him to blackmail her a little bit. Once nourished by God's energy, it will be resurrected. So going for treatment is just one of the excuses, and what Edisha wants to do is mainly to have a purpose and process of action. Otherwise, wouldn't it be quite a big deal to just hang up the phone and go to Master Jiayan, and he would immediately send a plane to pick her up? Boring. He is Edisha. Every time he appears in front of Master Jiayan, he is quite surprised. How can he do such an ordinary thing? Hey, that bad guy's accomplice just now. After Edisha put on her shoes, she discovered that there were several strong men moving around next to her home, staring eagerly at the people coming and going in the home. Does this person want revenge? Or, they are simply bad people? They know that the family here used to be rich, and they want to come here to have fun. After all, the rich people who have lost their money may have some valuable things hidden away. Their guess was correct. Among other things, if they sold the 2 non-stop watches that their father left at home, they would be enough to feed the whole family for a month or 2. Although it is not worth mentioning to save my mother's illness, my father is already considering selling them to get money to save my mother. Humph, bad guys, if you want to harm Edisha's family, Edisha will beat you. Edisha was angry, or rather, she thought she should be angry, she was angry anyway. You 2 bad guys, what are you doing in front of my house? Edisha will beat you up. Edisha jumped out beside the 2 men who were showing off and clenched her little fists. This time she was very smart and tied a simple leather glove on her fists. I won't feel pain myself. Discovered? Humph, just in time, tie her up and ask the family to hand over valuable things. Be careful, that guy Awu was beaten by this little girl. Isn't she just a child with some talent? Awu made the mistake of being careless. As long as we are a little more careful with her, it is impossible for her to capsize. After all, she is just a child. Amidst the conversation between the 2 strong men, Edisha's little short legs ran at a vigorous speed, and her little white and tender feet wearing slippers just kicked the crotch of a strong man. Ouch! The man's eyes almost popped out of his sockets after being kicked so hard. This is the reason why I don't become a boy. Edisha doesn't want such an obvious weakness. Edisha watched the man fall down after being hit by her. Although there was a little pain in his short legs, the thing was not very hard. She would definitely not feel anything if she kicked him up. She turned around and punched the man on the neck. The man grunted and fell to the ground without even being able to fight back. The man on the other side had no idea that these 2 strong men, who were even somewhat capable cultivators, could not even move past 1 or 2 moves in the hands of such a little girl. After his expression changed drastically, and subconsciously stepped forward to help. Ada. Jito fist. Edisha screamed, and with a milky voice, she used the magical boxing technique from the earth, Lee's Jito fist. Jito fist emphasizes short punches, and her fists are really short. Her small fist stretched out a short distance and hit the man's knee with 1 punch. The beating made the man hug his knees and scream in pain. It takes a genius to remember the address of this website in 1 second. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2564. Edisha is very powerful. Don't bully my family, or Edisha will kick you. Edisha is not very good at saying threatening words yet, because she has just become a living being. She found that when speaking from the perspective of a living being, she would unconsciously think too much, and thus she would not be able to say threatening words. This is the case. People who dare to threaten others actually need to have a certain amount of psychological construction and psychological strength. And if Edisha thinks too much, she will become worse than she was before when she was just a smart brain. This is not good. Edisha feels that she must overcome this shortcoming, otherwise she will not dare to threaten others if Master Jiayan asks her to in the future. Okay, I'm sorry, we don't dare anymore, it hurts so much. The strong man howled miserably, but his eyes moved around, as if signaling someone behind Edisha. Edisha remained calm and deliberately pretended not to know that someone was coming from behind. However, when the opponent launched a charge attack, she twisted away and hooked the opponent's ankle, causing the opponent to fall and gnaw on the ground. Such a powerful brat. The two men who were knocked down by Edisha had ugly expressions on their faces, and they understood the difference between being able to knock down two big men head-on and being able to react to a sneak attack from behind by one person. It shows that this little kid's talent in martial arts is quite astonishing. Although they are not great masters, they are all the kind of people who have studied martial arts, but they were defeated by 5-year-old children. If they tell anyone, they will probably laugh to death. Sister, we were wrong. We just wanted to fight against the autumn wind. Although you are young, you are a being that we cannot deal with. Please be generous and let us go. The man had a sad face. If he had known better, he would not have come to attack the family. No, give me the money, otherwise I will ask the police to arrest you. Edisha shook her head. She had already had an idea on how to use these people. Okay, we'll give you pocket money. Pocket money is not enough, you need more. From now on, you will follow me, call me Lady Edisha, and I will help you make big money and get a big status. Okay, Lady Edisha, just say whatever you say, we will all abide by it. Okay, do you see it? This is my smartwatch. It has been modified by me and can be connected to all the cameras in the country. Don't try to hide, otherwise I will see it from the camera, even to the ends of the world. I will come find you. Starting from today, Edisha got 2 little followers. Oh no, it should be said that they are big followers. They are all tall and big, but they are followed by a 5 or 6-year-old girl who is only half their height. The things around you are amazing no matter how you look at them. Edisha, my neighbor next door was waiting for me on my way to get off work just now and said that you have been hanging out with 2 tall men these past few days. You must be careful of bad guys. Don't be afraid, Edisha can beat them. They are Edisha's subordinates. Anyway, Dad will come back from get off work early tomorrow to see you. If these 2 people are bad guys, Dad will protect you even if he risks his life. The next day, Edisha forgot that her father would come to see her. It's been 2 days, haha. You can start the operation today. Once the stock journey of Edisha is completed, you can make a lot of money. Just invest all your money. I voted, but Madam Edisha, our country's stocks are purchased on a delayed basis. Can you grasp the key? If we lose money, we will lose money. In the past 2 days, the 2 men went from wanting to escape from Edisha to witnessing her unique appearance, especially the intrusion into various large institutions that was impossible for a 5-year-old girl. Website, let them see how extraordinary this little girl is. If she wants money, she will take advantage of these loopholes. I am afraid that the money her father owes will be earned back quickly. But the little girl did not use such crooked tricks. Instead, after operating the backend of the financial website, getting an account, and using her own abilities in the most basic way, she relied on her own skills to make money. Don't be afraid, this Lady Edisha, I don't speculate in stocks by looking at dynamic pictures. I will look at the overall international situation and industry situation. I don't even need to look at the current stock price of any stock that I can buy. Edisha opened the stock trading software, and it didn't take long before she bought it and left, as if she had just waited for a few. Is this enough? Lady Edisha. Well, because of the war, these stocks will more than double after 12 o'clock today. When they double, we will sell them, and we will buy them if they double tomorrow. Edisha said quite confidently. The 2 men looked at each other. Early in the morning of the next day, the man who was still a little unbelieving found out that most of their income, which was the expenses of an ordinary family for half a month, had actually doubled, and his eyes almost popped out of his sockets. They no longer care about what Edisha does next. I saw your two friends yesterday. Although Dad thinks they are really not good people, their attitude towards you is pretty good. But Edisha, if you can interact less with such people, I promise. Dad, take good care of yourself. Okay, Edisha loves Daddy the most. Oh, Daddy loves you the most too. After dealing with her father who was easy to solve, Edisha embarked on the journey to continue more of her own ideas. She has earned more than 10 times the money, which means she has 5 or 6 months of normal expenses for a family in her country. It is not too much, not too little. The two big men were still waiting for Edisha to continue to expand her income, and then they would also get the dividend results. Unexpectedly, Edisha said that she would take out half of it and turn it into the cost of her apprenticeship. Master Jia Yan is making good progress on the other side of the planet. It seems that she is about to conquer 12 countries. She only has half a month left at most. As for her, she has not even begun to learn skills. This pair of lovers for Disha, this was quite unhappy, so she planned to quickly find a master to become her apprentice according to the original plan she had discussed with Jia Yan. Although there are a lot of orthodox alien cultivation techniques in Edisha's memory, and even Jia Yan's complete plan of yin and yang dao, the laws of this world are different, and Edisha is a living being for the first time, and she knows that the cultivation method is one thing, but how to start practicing is another matter. When it comes to becoming a disciple, Jia Yan may not be as good as an enlightenment teacher because his status is too high. So Edisha quickly found a class with an enlightening teacher near her home. She took a magic course. Although after she finally left this world, magic and other magic would be useless, but the energy was real. And Edisha felt that it was really unsuitable for a little Lolita to learn fighting spirit and other things to charge into battle, so she might as well learn magic. It is worth mentioning that cultivators do not exist in this country, because cultivators use the energy of the Black God, which is the energy of Jia Yan, and in all countries in this hemisphere, they do not worship according to the Black God. Even hundreds of years ago, all the countries here regarded cultivators as heretics and would kill them. Things are a little better now. At least some cultivators from the other hemisphere will come to visit this place. However, the hostility towards cultivators has at most gone from being full at first to being still a little deep-rooted now. This is the reason why Edisha cannot learn the skills of cultivators. She has already made a reservation. When she leaves for the other hemisphere, she will find cultivators along the way and teach her how to cultivate. Maybe she will meet Master Jia Yan. In addition to having magic, he can also cultivate. How awesome it is! This is magic. In fact, you have to feel the power of by God, and then by God will feed back to you where the magic is in our world. In fact, by God's power is everywhere. As long as you are willing, by God is also willing, you can understand the true meaning of magic. The magic enlightenment teacher's explanation made Edisha curl her lips. She knew who the white god and the black god belonged to. Although she had participated in the enemy's computer and quietly rewritten a lot of this entire history, it had become a life in this world. Come and experience this for yourself. After it passes, she will still feel quite uncomfortable. I just like Black God, but forget it, since the teacher said that White God's power is the source of magic, I'll just ask him to give up some of his power to me. Edisha felt relieved when she thought that the so-called magic she had learned was actually helping Master Jia Yan seize the original power of the world. Not only must you learn, but you must also learn hard. It is best to absorb all the white energy in this world. In this way, the Master can control the world more easily. What? Did you realize it so quickly? Well, little friend, you can try to open the hexagram directly. If you can open it, it means that you can already use the original magic. But this is not easy. Many magic apprentices, even at the age of 15, you can't succeed again? You, what on earth are you? After the Enlightenment teacher taught Edisha the first magic hexagram, he fell into a state of confusion. Who am I and where am I? What am I doing here? Oh, I am teaching children magic, but there seems to be an incredible existence among the children learning here. After coming back to his senses, the little girl was no longer in front of him. Hey, where is that cute little genius just now? What? He's gone? Leave his name behind. This is a serious matter. I want to tell the superiors. Our magic guild will reward me greatly. This is a peerless genius. Ah! This magic teacher fell into a state of ecstasy. You must know that he discovered a peerless little genius. Although it is still unknown how far this genius can go, their magic union is very interested in discovering the genius. Super genius teachers are generous with rewards, not to mention that if Edissa is really a genius and becomes famous in the future, his name will also be written in the history books. So this is magic. I see. What is communicating with the white god? Isn't it just gathering the power in the air through a magic circle like a hexagram? I figured it out at once. But the people in this world, as expected, it's a new way of communicating. It's like an energy amplifier. Edissa walked on the road with her two friends, or to be more precise, two of Edissa's subordinates. She was quite unworthy of what she had just done. Just as Jia Yan felt before, the laws and various affairs of this world seem to be more like the real world, but there is a sense of inconsistency everywhere, not as delicate as the real world, and many things the matter is not worthy of further examination. Of course, now this world has become a world equivalent to the real world. If it continues to develop in the future, these unreasonable places will definitely be gradually filled. But Edissa didn't care about so many things. For example, the so-called magic was so easy to practice, so she used it to improve herself as much as possible. Let's go to the library, buy a lot of magic books, and then I will learn it by myself. In addition, starting from today, I will invest more money in the stock market and other aspects. After a month at most, let's go. Let's go, where are we going? Editha was jumping up and down along the way. When she heard the questions from the two big men, she turned around and blinked her eyes naively. Of course she is going to my master, he, Editha misses her master. Owner. The two strong men were stunned, not knowing what to say. They didn't know that Edissa had anyone else to serve like a master. However, they have gradually become a little weird about this mysterious little girl boss recently. It is really because Edissa is too weird. Even a genius cannot know everything and be omnipotent, but she has managed to do it. Although it seems that she is still a little kid who loves to play, but under the cover of a little kid, her heart is too deep, especially in terms of calculation and knowledge, it can be said to be a bottomless pit. So she wanted to do something, and these two stopped saying anything. After waiting for a long time, they finally decided that they were following Edissa not because they were crazy to accompany a child, but because Edissa showed more and more abilities. They began to think about it. To truly follow this little leader. So if she wants to go somewhere, isn't it normal for them to follow her? As Edissa showed her magical talent, financial talent, and talent for various matters, rumors about a little genius gradually spread like wildfire in this area. It's just that her rise is so fast at the moment, so fast that many people don't react. Edissa is ready to leave here. It takes a genius to remember the address of this website in 1 second. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2565. Have you heard of it? Recently there was a rumored financial genius girl who said she won a lot of money in the stock market when she was less than 10 years old. Not only less than 10 years old, I heard she is a 5-year-old little girl. How could she be 5 years old? A 5-year-old child can't speak clearly. This is too much. From my point of view, this is probably a gimmick. There must be a team behind her. God knows. Anyway, no one knows her exact identity. By the way, speaking of girls, I also heard that in a remote town in our country, a magical genius girl appeared. Oh no, I shouldn't say, girl, she is a real young girl, 5 years old, her name is, what is her name? AI. Adisha? This news has spread throughout the entire capital area recently. It seems that a senior executive at the Magic Union headquarters wants to accept this girl as his apprentice. I don't know why, but this little girl doesn't agree, saying that she just wants to. It's a shame to learn some basic knowledge. Times have changed, and 7 or 8 days have passed since Edisha made plans to leave. As she said, she caused an uproar in both the financial and magical circles. But this was only in the country where she was born. Because things happened quickly and she didn't want to make big news, she didn't publicize it further. But this was enough. At the very least, the two strong men following Adisha began to have strong confidence in Adisha. Lady Adisha, you said you were going to the other half of the planet to treat your mother, right? But you are only 5 years old, and your family may not agree to your request to leave the country, let alone allow them to travel with you. Don't worry, I have a solution. Adisha was followed by two strong men like followers, already acting like a big sister. As expected of Lady Adisha, there are many ways to make money quickly. The two strong men were not very smart. In short, they exchanged their guns for guns. After becoming Adisha's subordinates, their clothes have now become famous brands, and they no longer have to live in a shabby house and pocket money. Because of these changes, they became more and more convinced of Adisha. Even if it was a bit embarrassing to follow a 5-year-old kid, as long as they had money, it was a life they could not imagine before. By the way, the stock price doubled again yesterday. Lady Adisha was quite right. That stock that no one was optimistic about actually doubled overnight. The strong man with a slightly better mind still knew something about stocks, and he paid homage to Adisha. Because he saw that the principal the two of them had put out had now doubled to hundreds or thousands of times. Adisha's current net worth was probably comparable to that of an ordinary rich man. The only thing that was a bit regretful was that this little kid didn't even mention the dividends that he had agreed upon at the beginning. Apart from replacing their clothes and giving them some pocket money, he got nothing at all. But they at least believed that this little girl was willing to give them a generous salary, because Adisha said it herself. Well, next time I want to make a big bet. Tomorrow the money will be doubled more than 10 times, and then I will have money for a long voyage. By the way, the money my dad owes will also be paid back, so that we will not have trouble leaving. Adisha had already asked the two of them to clear the way for departure with money, and also used special means to deal with the parents' procedures, making them legal leavers. As for the original parents, there was no way he could leave so easily when he owed so much money. Help me find my parents' creditors, and then Adisha will pay them back. All the preparations will be completed in this way. Aditha was jumping up and down, holding delicious ice cream in her hand. She discovered that after becoming a living being, she really loved eating. It turned out that being able to eat was such a wonderful thing. From an outsider's perspective, Adisha is a cute little girl, with her small mouth pouted when she walks. She has that kind of good-natured look that makes adults want to touch her head. But the two guardians behind her were too intimidating. It was the existence of these two guardians that prevented people around her from causing trouble to Adisha. Her travels in the past few days went much more smoothly. Of course, the so-called traveling around is just working back and forth in the small town where my family currently lives. Compared to the uproar she caused in the entire country, she totally belongs to the otaku type. My parents don't know that I'm so good at Adisha. Won't they be very proud when the answer to the mystery is revealed in 2 days? Adisha makes them proud. Aditha held her head high. Adisha, don't you really want to learn magic? I recently heard that a talented girl has appeared near our town. There are several powerful magicians who are planning to come here to recruit apprentices. You can take a look when you get there. Is there a big shot who is willing to take a fancy to you? If a great magician takes a fancy to you, your future will definitely be free from the influence of our family's predicament. As soon as she returned home, Adisha heard that her parents were happily at home, and after meeting her, she directly came forward to tell her what she thought was the good news. You know, in this setting of Adisha, she has been fond of magic since she was a child, and when her family was rich, she also received guidance from 2 teachers who initiated magic. However, because she was too young, before that Adisha was just as naughty as she is now, and she didn't learn anything at all. But it is different now. Adisha has grown up. Her father believes that if the 5-year-old Adisha has a talent for magic and is chosen by a magic master, at least she herself can escape from her extremely poor family. As long as the child has a chance to grow up normally, he is willing to give up his right to speak about the child. Adisha doesn't want to be picked on by the magician. Mom and Dad, I will take you to a foreign country for medical treatment in 2 days. Adisha puffed up her little chest and said righteously. Adisha. The eyes of Adisha's mother on the bed next to her immediately turned red. This daughter helped her share the housework every day. Although she ran out and didn't know what she was busy with, she heard people outside saying that he was really busy with some serious things in the town, and he seemed to be planning some life-saving plan. For a mother, this is a very well-behaved daughter. Even if she doesn't think that Adisha can really do anything to save herself, even if she is just messing around like playing house, is that just a child's intention? Adisha, listen to Daddy. Adisha's father looked a little ugly. He squatted on the ground and looked at his eldest daughter seriously. The situation in our family is too serious. Your mother is still alive. If you are seriously ill, if you live with us, you may be like this for the rest of your life. But if you can change your destiny through magic, maybe it will not only be you. After 10 or 20 years, our family members will also be affected. You may not understand your kindness, but Dad really hopes you will try to become a disciple. Don't want. Adisha became angry. Dad, you are lying. Mom's illness will not last that long. And I know that you owe a lot of money. If you don't pay back the money, bad people will come to trouble you. Wait for you in 20 years, they're all dead. Adisha ignored her parents and ran back to her room. Humph, I really don't understand life. Shouldn't the so-called family face danger together? They want me to run away and look down on me. Humph, they make me mad. Adisha hugged her little brother, who was just 1 year old, and let his chubby face become flat and round in her hands. Ha. The little baby bared its teeth and claws, but couldn't resist at all. By the way, since they don't believe me, I'll let them see if I'm as useless as they think. Adisha's watery eyes suddenly lit up. She thought of a good way to make her family view her differently and make them obedient in the future. That is to show your ability. Money is not a problem. I have money and a lot of it. If it's not enough, I can do a lot in one day. Adisha looked at the children's toy watch she had designed and turned it into a super intelligent brain, and opened the software on it. On this day, a serious cash-out person appeared on many software in the entire hemisphere. She used a lot of capital she already had to start cashing out money from various software for use. After all, you have the funds to verify your capital, and many merchants are willing to lend you money so that they can receive dividends from you in the future, and what Adisha uses is the account number and reputation she has built on the financial battlefield under various names. The money soared rapidly, and she invested all the money in stocks she was optimistic about. There is no possibility of any surprise, because this stock is the stock of a war-related company. Being familiar with Jiayan, She knows that her master will definitely start to purchase related companies and materials, so the answer will probably be given tomorrow. In fact, if the answer is not given tomorrow, the result will definitely be given the day after tomorrow. The second day. Oh my God. What's going on? Yesterday, so much money suddenly bought the stock, and the stock just soared on that day. Is it a secret operation? No, this happened because Xinyi country in another hemisphere suddenly announced a merger and acquisition, which caused the company's stock to skyrocket. This black box operator cannot have any dealings with Xinyi country, right? That's right. Nowadays, Xinhaiguo is in the limelight. How can it be associated with an ordinary stock trader? However, this amount of money is indeed exaggerated. Excluding the principal, the amount of money earned has definitely ranked among the top 20 in our country's wealth list. I don't know who it is. If it's a little girl like the rumors say, then she's a bit too scary. On the second day of this crazy harvest of a large amount of capital, Edisha was not nervous at all. She slept in as usual and slept until she got up at 9 in the morning. Then she gulped down the milk and several other foods. My father got up very early to make these foods. Although the craftsmanship is not perfect, it is definitely not bad. Edisha likes it very much. It feels like home. Open the software and take a look. Brother, come here and see how much money your sister has today. Edisha knew that her brother was the only one who could stay with her at home in the morning, and her mother usually fell asleep in the morning. Da. The baby crawled closer to Edisha. Edisha opened the display page on the watch and followed the series of numbers on it, which made her satisfied. She was not disappointed. Yeah, that's good. Let's go shopping for something to eat. I can buy you enough candies to fill the whole town with the candies you wanted to grab from me last time. Sister, Ada. The little baby was smiling broadly, but he didn't know if he understood. Also, I want to give money directly to the people my father owes money to, pay them double, and ask them to come and send us away. In addition, I want to buy a big boat, and sail there myself. Editha acted arrogantly, as if a villain had gained power. By the way, there are also those magicians. I sent them a message saying that although I am not willing to learn magic, I am willing to give them some money and ask them to send it to me. She is already quite proficient in the use of money abilities. How could those two strong subordinates, even though they didn't say anything every day, would try their best to get some money from her? Da. The little baby brother continued to smile silly. After this day, it was like a feast, and many people who participated in this fundraising received huge profits. And they seemed to have been invited by someone to find the book garden and started heading towards an unknown town one by one. Also coming together were a large group of magicians from the capital. Although these magicians don't care too much about money, money can still impress them when it reaches a certain level. And the person who was rumored to them was the little girl they wanted to accept as their apprentice, but was clearly rejected. They were also very curious about this little girl. She just happened to go and have income, so why not why? So in just 2 days, this originally ordinary town, which was even regarded as a temporary residence for many debtors to escape, unexpectedly had the arrival of many big shots. Some are from the financial world, some are from the magic world, and many are even government officials. They were all attracted here by the various legends here and the abnormal flow of funds to explore. Of course, there are many people who have weird calculations, but the mysterious rich man didn't reveal too many tricks, and there is no big problem with funds, so even if he wants to make plans, it's hard to do anything in public. Another point is very important, and that is mystery. Human nature is similar everywhere. Many people tend to stay away from mysterious things. Even if they are greedy, they will be slightly concerned about the possible dangers behind mysterious affairs. Today, they wanted to witness who this so-called mysterious rich man was. They didn't believe it. This mysterious person was really just a 5-year-old kid living in this town. So that was totally out of the question, okay. However, what happened in Tianhuanyuan really happened in front of them. Welcome to our town, I am the one who invited you. It takes a genius to remember the address of this website in 1 second. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2566. In front of everyone, what appeared was a petite little girl with a baby fat face and a milky voice as if she had too much collagen to use. This is. Could she be the little magic genius? She's so cute. It is simply a gift from God. Such a cute child should star in my movie. But she showed up. Where is the generous rich man? Don't tell me, she is the rich man. Under the admiration and envious gazes of the people below, Adisha stepped onto the stage. And she also noticed that the person in the front row below was pulled by her, but she was inexplicable and felt uneasy. Her parents, who were placed in the front row, were also looking at her with dumbfounded eyes. In other words, among everyone, the ones who were most shocked were her parents. I'm the one who invited you. Adisha didn't have any stage fright when she went on stage and was still so active. I am a rich man, and my magic talent is also very powerful. The two over there are my parents, and they are holding my brother in their arms. Our family will leave for other places tomorrow. Today is for everyone say goodbye. I have already given you money, so you have to say goodbye to me and cheer me, otherwise you will give me your money back. Aditha shouted arrogantly, looking like a little devil doing evil. Everyone present looked at each other in shock. This is completely different from what they imagined, okay. I originally thought that what I would see here would be a gentle and elegant middle-aged rich man. After all, looking at the man's investment method that miraculously quickly invests money, I knew that he should be someone who has a very accurate grasp of the situation. Such a person generally, they will be knowledgeable and highly educated people. But he never expected that the rich man would be the little girl in front of him. Or is the little girl just a fake identity that the rich man pushed to the front desk? That's not right. If you really want to do this, you should choose a convincing fake body. Why did you choose such a 5 or 6-year-old kid? No one will believe her? Humph, have a great time. Don't worry about money today. There are also those guys who lent me money to my dad. If you want to get twice the repayment, hurry up and apologize and congratulate my parents. Otherwise, I will still owe you. I'll give you the money, don't even think about double the money. Adisha held the microphone and shouted at the people below who had different expressions but were equally stunned. Although no one knew the purpose of the grand gathering held today, there were so many guests and bustling crowds that the entire town, not to mention rubbing shoulders with each other, definitely reached the level of a bustling crowd. This also proves the idea that rich people have distant relatives in the mountains. Adisha also specially called her relatives. This group of people originally followed her father to get rich, but their family fell behind, so they only cared about their own family. For small interests, no one is willing to help. But now, under the offensive of money, they still come with a shy face. Haha, hello you two, you have really given birth to an incredible daughter. The two of you look really different, and you must have some history with each other. I will make this friend today. For a moment, Adissa's parents, who were at the bottom and center of the stage, seemed to have turned into gorillas in a zoo, with many people coming and going around them. Don't disturb my mother. My mother is sick. The most one person can say to her is a word. Adisha felt sorry for her mother, so she jumped down from the stage, pushed away the crowd of people, and stood in front of her mother. Because today is a very important day, Adissa's mother came here despite being seriously ill. For today, Adissa also spent a lot of money to get a special medicine that can treat her mother's illness in this half of the planet, at least it can. The depletion during this period was slowed down a lot, which was why she was able to act. Your daughters really love and care for their families. I envy you for having such a daughter. Ah, yes, yes, our daughter has always been very sensible. Edisha's father was confused. Although he was a good little rich man before, what level was he at? It was difficult for him to meet many of the people present, but today, they were invited by his daughter? What the hell is going on? The father was confused, and his wife was also at a loss, completely confused as to what was going on. Edisha, tell mom, what's going on? Mother asked, pulling Edisha to one side. Huh, isn't Edisha great? Edisha did it secretly. I've made money, and my magic talent is amazing. Mom, do you want to praise Edisha? Edisha seems to still have a lot of childishness. You did it secretly, and you still made money? How did you do it? The mother's mood suddenly became tense. There must be a monster when things go wrong. As a former rich person, she naturally knew that making money is not that easy. How could a 5-year-old child have so much money and influence? She was afraid of her daughter. Got cheated? If it's just a lie, how about deceiving a 5-year-old child with such great pomp? She couldn't find any clues. I've been trading stocks, and my magic has been trained. Anyway, Mom, just be happy, and don't worry about money. Edisha will make money. Tomorrow we will go to a foreign country, and I will treat your illness. Edisha says hello. Edisha hugged the mother's arm and spoke cheerfully. The woman, who was stunned for a while, stopped asking questions after a long time. Various thoughts were surging in her heart, but tears could not help but fall from the corners of her eyes. She no longer asked why. In short, after knowing that a 5-year-old child had done this for her, she was completely moved and couldn't help but hugged her daughter's delicate body with one hand. He, Mom still cries every day, so embarrassed. Editha beamed. At the same time, she seemed to vaguely understand in her heart what life and emotions were all about. From now on, Edisha can also laugh and cry. Will the master praise Edisha? A delicate smile appeared on Edisha's lovely innocent face. Of course, she couldn't guess what Jia Yan's expression and reaction would be when he saw the little girl who might be reborn as a mosquito but turned into a human. It might be interesting, maybe. Hey, why did Edisha think of the word interesting? Is this a reaction from life? It's so fun. It's fun to have living emotions. Editha thought about a lot of things that day. The whole bustling event passed quickly with everyone feeling baffled but very excited. Edisha, this is the happiest day for Dad in all these years. No, this is the happiest day since Dad was born. My woman is the best daughter in the world. That night, she sent her drunken father in just to stay for one night, but with a wave of her hand, Edisha bought the most luxurious house in the town and bought the suite. Edisha made the two of them completely loyal subordinates. The big man came out. We have to leave tomorrow. Let the 2 guards you arranged find us. I believe that after today, there will be bad guys who want to take advantage of my family. We found it? Lady Edisha, you can rest assured that these 2 guards can definitely be trusted. That's good. Edisha also has powerful methods. If they don't obey, Edisha will beat them to death. Edisha left the place directly. The 2 big men looked at each other. According to their original thinking, no one would believe a 5-year-old girl who said she had means. However, this statement came from the increasingly mysterious little brat Edisha. They said it, but they didn't dare not believe it. I'm afraid this little loli is really not an ordinary girl. Otherwise, as people who have personally witnessed her growth process, how could they have the same admiration for her as others? Woo! Boom! In the sky, a giant flying magic transport ship arrived over this small town. Mom and Dad, this is the magic spacecraft that I rented specially to take us to the dock. Ha ha ha, Are you so angry? Editha wants to play hide and seek on it. Brother, please play with me. Ada. Play. Editha was running around on the ground with her younger brother, who was gradually learning to walk, as if she was just happy about the arrival of the spaceship. The two parents were shocked, and after looking at each other, they felt helpless. Yesterday, their lives were rewritten by their daughter. You must know that before yesterday, her father was still thinking about how to work hard to make money the next day. He did not dare to think about paying back the money, but at least he had to make money to cover the family living expenses. Also try to give your wife money for conservative treatment. But just one day later, they actually experienced the life of the rich again. They were even richer and richer than before. Their family back then, let alone chartered this large magic ship with a length of more than 70 meters. Going on a vacation on a spaceship, even if you have to buy a ticket and have a crowded ride, it's quite a financial hardship. Let's get on the boat and see who can run faster. Editha ran onto the boat dancing happily, followed by her younger brother who was also dancing. Both siblings were in a state of no pressure in life. No one knows that the 5-year-old girl running at the front, who seems so ignorant, has already been burdened with everything in life. Of course, for her, I am afraid this is not pressure at all. Who knows how exaggerated it is to process a large amount of data every day, maintain the flight of spacecraft, and maintain the operation of the planet, plus the amount of daily calculations in a palace as large as the Earth. This little pressure is nothing. Edisha doesn't care. Edisha took her parents, 2 subordinates, and 2 gloomy-looking men recruited by the 2 subordinates, who looked like robots and obeyed orders, on board the magic spaceship. The people who took over the spaceship were regarded as the parents following Edisha, and the staff above only told the parents what to pay attention to, and quoted prices. After hearing the quotation, my parents wanted to turn around and get off the boat. They knew that Edisha was just to take them to the port, but they could use land transportation on this road. Even if they wanted to find a large escort group to take them along, I'm afraid they wouldn't have the money to do so. The price of this magic spaceship package is high. Don't worry, it's just the price of a few houses. Edisha can afford it. Let's go. Mom will go play in your room. Edisha turned back and pulled her mother, who was getting better, and asked her to follow her to play in the room that belonged only to them with a helpless expression. You know, Edisha had made some arrangements before letting the spaceship arrive. Although they only used it for a day or two, they had to make it clean and beautiful in these 2 days. She had done it in the early stage. I invested a lot of money into it. Under such circumstances, both parents were shocked to find that many of the furnishings on the spaceship were very similar to their rental house, and even daily necessities were prepared. Holy shit, is this the life of a truly rich person? The life of our husband and wife in the past was nothing but rich. This is it. The first person to express his thoughts was the extremely bitter Edisha's father. He couldn't laugh or cry. He felt that his daughter had led them into the real life of rich people. Looking for bookstore just felt like they had known a new world. Come to me quickly, stupid brother. Sister, sister. The 2 little kids were running around on the magic spaceship, and the magic spaceship was also in the spotlight, gradually rising up and covering the barren town where they had lived for a year or 2. The people below looked at the departing spaceship with great envy. They felt that the family they were hanging out with, even poorer than most families in this town, turned out to be such a terrifying invisible rich man. I feel quite shocked and unable to understand. With so much money, the male protagonist still works hard to experience life. And it's all physical work? What kind of hobby is this? However, rich people work so hard, but a mortal like me deserves to be so disparate if he doesn't work hard. A beautiful misunderstanding has arisen, and I am afraid it will not be resolved for a long time, and it may even become an urban legend. The inspirational protagonist in the legend is none other than Edisha's father. Maybe this is something he himself has never thought of. Hey Edisha, don't run away. Dad wants to ask you, is the destination you mentioned is in the Xinhe country? Hey, Dad, do you know Xinhe country? While running, Edisha stopped in surprise. Yes, I know, Xinhe country, an imperial country that suddenly rose up, is now fighting against 12 countries with the power of one country, and even showing a posture of crushing it, but you have to know, Edisha, although the country announced that there is a new drug to treat your mother, but they are a very aggressive country. Our country's money may not be useful there. If you go around the planet to find them, your mother may not be able to get treatment. It takes a genius to remember the address of this website in 1 second. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2567. Ha ha ha, don't worry, Mom will definitely be treated, because my lord, my friend is in that country. Friend? Your friend? Who? The two couples were dumbfounded by the friends Edisha said. They found that they knew very little about their 5-year-old daughter, but how did this little kid make friends in the circle of friends? Friends, do you even have friends in Nobue country on the other side of the planet? Is this a 5-year-old kid? A 50-year-old man might not have such a wide range of contacts. On the third day, it was said to be a journey, but it was just a 2-day trip. Edis's family arrived at the port. Here, after seeing the new big boat they bought, the couple was even more dumbfounded. Is this a private yacht? Is this a commercial-grade luxury yacht? The 7 or 8-story yacht is more than 200 meters long, with a large number of crew members and waiters standing on it. If a group of tourists were to board such a ship, it would be more appropriate for a commercial trip, but this was purely to serve their family. Edisha's father was already twitching in his heart. He had no idea how much such a boat would cost. Even if his previous net worth increased 10-fold or 100-fold, he probably wouldn't be able to afford it. Ha ha ha, Mom, Dad, and brother, have you seen it? This is the boat Edisha bought. It's okay, but it's a little small. Edisha trotted up to the boat. The two big men behind her were afraid that she would fall, so they hurriedly followed. The crew members on the ship also didn't know that this lively 5-year-old girl was the owner of this big ship. They all looked at Edis's father, who had restored his luxurious clothes and became like a gentleman. They are crew members, so they naturally know the performance and cost of this ship. It can be said that those who can buy it are usually big buyers who use it as commercial cruise ships, or even big companies, all of which are in the tourism industry, but no one has ever thought of it. Someone actually bought it for a private cruise. You know, due to the recent turmoil in international affairs, the Xinhe kingdom on the other side of the planet has caused some smoke of war to arise across the entire planet. As a result, cruise ships and other tourism businesses have long been in decline, resulting in a large number of employees being laid off. And there is such a big private buyer who not only bought a large cruise ship that could not be sold, but also relied on a large number of old employees. This is definitely a good thing for them. This is too arrogant. Just to serve a family of 4, he directly bought a cruise ship worth tens of billions, and then employed thousands of employees at once. This is no longer something that can be explained by arrogance. Edisha, you spend too much money, don't you? Following Edisha, her father, who thought he was used to being beaten by his daughter's arrogance, felt his whole heart twitching. He walked behind Edisha and asked quietly in a deserted corner. It doesn't cost money. Other boats are too small. Edisha wants to take a big boat. There is nothing we can do if we don't have a small boat like a big boat. Edisha was helpless. What ship did she ride on before? The original Edisha was 20 kilometers long, not to mention the later upgrade of the Edisha to the Edisha Star, which was a planet, and finally reached the tens of thousands kilometers level of the palace. The current one is only over 100 meters long, so it's so far away. Okay. For her, where does the money she makes now go? She can get as much money as she wants with little tricks. If it doesn't work, she can throw the entire world into financial chaos. Even her master Jia Yan's trust in Haiguo is, they all have the ability to cause financial collapse in an instant, so this is really a small amount of money. Forget it, you can do whatever you want. It's enough to be able to help your parents pay off the money. You're debt-free. In the future, your father will continue to be a safe haven for you three. The father is still reasonable. He even feels that it is not good to talk to a 5-year-old child so much. In short, the money is earned by the child, so he can play as he wants. Besides, this kind of experience is indeed too satisfying. A family of 4 actually used the services of thousands of employees. Of course, many of them were people who maintained the normal operation of the cruise ship. You too, you should follow my parents well from now on and don't let them get into trouble, you know? I will give you more money in the future. Edisha walked up to the 2 escort men who were following the family and gave them instructions. Yes, miss. The 2 guard men took the order respectfully. In fact, the 2 of them were shocked and even a little unsure about the another order they received privately. After all, both sides are working hard for money and status, and there are such arrogant people here. If they give up their tasks there and directly serve the people here, wouldn't the future be quite promising? Because it is the little girl Edisha who holds the financial power of the family, she does not look like someone who would exploit her subordinates, and may even be quite arrogant. The only thing these 2 people are worried about is that if they don't carry out their mission faithfully, and they reveal that they approached the family with bad intentions, they might become dissatisfied with both sides, and maybe in the end is even worse. Edisha knows the identities of you 2. You are 2 gold medal killers in the dark world. But Edisha doesn't care. Do your best. Mom and Dad will protect me. Edisha will treat you as invisible. Can you agree? Aditya quietly approached the 2 men and told them that she had penetrated everything. The expressions of the 2 men changed, and their whole bodies stiffened. Even at the next moment, an extremely ferocious look appeared in their eyes. But after a moment, they looked at each other and finally nodded. Since Lady Edissa said this, then we have to be respectful and obey her orders. We will also refuse the mission over there. Anyway, we are no longer in the motherland now. When we get to a foreign country, it doesn't matter how they want to punish us. That's right, Edisha likes you very much. Edisha walked towards her room in a naive manner with her little hands behind her back, jumping up and down on the way, looking quite cute. Even the crew members on the road looked at her with envy. She was so cute and her family was so rich. I'm afraid her future life would be extremely smooth. But no one knew that in the eyes of the 2 guards behind Edisha, this little girl looked harmless, but she felt like a hidden big boss. Tell me, if we insist on taking action, will we succeed? I don't know, but judging from her confidence, I'm afraid it won't be easy for us to succeed. Forget it, since she has revealed our identities and said she doesn't care about our past, let's find out what she wants. Anyway, I'm tired of the dark world, so I might as well try another way of living. The 2 of them were whispering, but they didn't expect that Edisha actually turned them against them. Of course, this is based on Edisha's ability and the consequences that she may bear if she offends her. Otherwise, how could 2 famous killers be fooled by a 5-year-old girl? As long as the master's life-saving energy is there, I'm not afraid of them. No one is afraid of Disha. Edisha snorted coldly. In fact, the energy that Jia Yan gave her was not too much, and at most it could only deal with powerful people around the heaven level. This is why Jia Yan was the most worried about Edisha. He did not think that it was just the underworld. What is the life-saving effect of the heaven-level energy attached to the new life form of Aditya? But there are no strong people on this planet. In other words, after Aditya's analysis, she knew that she had nothing to worry about, so she dared to be arrogant. Adisha finally realized her great goal of heading towards Jiayan quickly, and her journey was on the right track. All that was left was to cross the distant sea and reach the Xinhe kingdom on the other side. On the other side, Jiayan never expected that the Xinheo subordinate he was worried about would actually brave the wind and waves and use such an arrogant method to find him. He is still busy with his battle to conquer the city. Oh no, now he is no longer so involved in everything, and does not interfere too much in the entire war. Instead, he implements and analyzes his own strategy in the general direction, and then leaves it to his subordinates to handle it. The war with the 12 nations has been going on for about a month. And in this month, the entire Xinhe kingdom seemed to have been turned into a war machine by him. Whether it was at the bottom or at the top, every area had the shadow of Jiayan's changes, and these shadows were not forced by him, but in the name of facilitating the war, these departments and the like were subtly replaced with his own shadow. In some key departments, Jiayan even took drastic measures and directly turned people close to him into power. Foreigners are saying that Xian Haiguo is crazy, but their words cannot hide the shock and fear. Because the Xinhe kingdom really has the combat power to conquer 12 countries, and after that, with more resources and capabilities, how will the Xinhe kingdom expand outward? Yes, many military experts and scholars are analyzing the methods of the Xinhe kingdom, and then find with great despair that it is absolutely impossible for the Xinhe kingdom to stop their steps when the war has progressed to such an extent. It will definitely expand farther away. Maybe the steppe will cover the entire land of this continent before it is complete. Among the 12 countries, the first to declare complete collapse is the weakest one. It is said to be the weakest, but its land and population are at least 4 times that of the original Xinhe country. 3/3 of the country is divided into 3 parts. According to normal views, even if there is a full-scale war with the former Nobue kingdom, the outcome is unpredictable. But today, it only withstood about 1/10 of the strength of the Nobue kingdom, and it became completely destroyed. The last army was blocked in a dangerous trap. After being blocked for 2 days, it knew that it was impossible. After winning, they finally went out and surrendered. As soon as the news came out, the eagerly awaited people in Xinhe cheered. The other surrounding countries were frightened. Even though they had already guessed such an outcome from the war, no one wanted to believe that the Xinhe kingdom could really fight against the 12 countries and occupy one of them in a month. There are 2 for 1. The carnival on the first day has not ended yet. On the second day, 2 more countries declared to bow to the energy of Xinhe country. The entire Xinhe country was completely filled with joy as if it was a new year. The ocean is flooded. The world is shaken. The Xinhe kingdom's deeds of destroying 3 major countries in 2 days made them sleepless and worried, and they were even more worried about whether a country with such combat power would have an impact on the pattern of the entire world. The original world's #1 overlord also announced that he was paying close attention to this matter, and urged Nobue to uphold the principle of world peace and return the land of the 3 major countries, including Nobuhiro, which was the first to fall, to their citizens, and even asked him to do so. Let Xinhe kingdom reduce its troops, otherwise they may intervene. What these words say makes people believe that their hegemonic force is likely to influence the behavior of Xinhe country. But unfortunately, the actions of Xinyi kingdom were not affected by them at all. Even if there was a meeting of the National Defense and Security Departments, when a foreign reporter asked about the matter, the Minister of Defense of Xinyi Kingdom just smiled coldly. Oh, is that the former world overlord? It seems that this country has become accustomed to being the overlord in these years. They have forgotten that there are countries in this world that can pose a threat to them. If other countries are unwilling to remind the sleeping so-called overlord, then it is up to us, the Black Country, to do so. After saying this, without any ambiguity or evasive words, he directly attacked the so-called hegemonic country, which immediately shocked the world. You know, the wars between small countries in this area are nothing to the largest countries on the entire planet. They even think that this is just a small fight between small countries, and there may be some shadow of a big country behind it, interfering. But now this person who believes in the black country actually refuses to give face to the overlord country in front of reporters. This makes everyone feel that this person who believes in the black country is too inflated after winning some wars. The hegemonic country in this world is not just making random noises. Its entire military strength is completely crushing the other countries in comparison. Even the other 2 or 3 big countries that are also first-rate countries are also suppressing the hegemonic country, and most of the time I dare not speak out when I am angry. But now, a small country called Xinyi, even if it conquers 12 small countries, its combined territory is not as big as that of the overlord. How dare it openly challenge the overlord? You know, even if the territory of the 12 countries, plus the territory and population of the Xinhe Kingdom and Xinbei Kingdom, may be comparable to the overlord country, this world is very similar to the Earth. Although your population and land are large, you can only have a big country. Capital will still need to develop for tens of hundreds of years before it can truly possess the foundation of a hegemon. Who would be like the Xinhe Kingdom, which has expanded its territory before even occupying it? In the past few years, the hegemonic country has destroyed many self-respecting countries, large and small. Everyone is waiting to see if the hegemonic country will make a tough response. It takes a genius to remember the address of this website in 1 second. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2568. Unlike the country in the other hemisphere where Edisha came from, the journey is far away. The location of this overlord country is on the next continent across the water from the continent where Xinyi country is located. With the astonishing naval strength of the overlord country, I am afraid that it can only use in a few days. There will be an overwhelming navy transporting soldiers. The overlord country did respond to Xinhe's bold words. Recently, our country has paid serious attention to and intervened in the military invasion of neighboring countries by the Xinhe Kingdom. We do not rule out the possibility of sending troops to safeguard justice in the near future. As soon as this statement came out, it attracted worldwide attention. If Xinyi country is a new force that shocks everyone, it is also a new player that has entered the ranks of powerful countries. So the hegemony is an absolutely established terrorist force, and the two sides are not in the same level at all. How can a new player be compared with a high-level player? Although the words of the hegemonic country may not be immediately turned into practice, because it has threatened many countries on this planet with its tyranny, but it rarely uses its national power to attack all countries threatened by them. Because they have already engaged in too many wars. If they start a war with every new threat, even if they have the strongest combat power on the planet, they will be brought down by militarism and fall from their position as hegemons. In other words, although it is much stronger than other big countries, it is far from being able to resist all other countries with the power of one country. But he is quite brave enough to threaten a small new powerful country, and they are absolutely sure of it. Such a small country does not dare to play tricks with him even in terms of rhetoric. But the problem is, it would be fine if Xinhe country were replaced by another small powerful country. The problem is that the current person in charge of Xinhe country is Jia Yan. After the sudden threatening remarks made by the hegemonic country, the foreign minister responded to reporters' questions that day, even in extremely harsh terms. As we all know, in the most rogue country in the world, they have used similar means to threaten and harm people in a large number of countries. Today we believe that black countries are also threatened by overlords. If we also remain silent, we will definitely by boosting this country's arrogance, they will harm more countries in the future. Therefore, we believe that the black country will respond positively to the words of the overlord's diplomats. That is, if they want to go to war with our country, they can go ahead. I believe that the black country, although the country is small and weak, it is not afraid of other overlords. Boom. After these words were spoken, the entire planet was once again shocked, and this time the sensation was definitely more sensational than the threatening remarks made by the overlord. After all, if the hegemonic country has something to do, it will threaten the newly developed small power. If there is a sensation, it is more of a sensation that the hegemonic country has newly recognized a rising power. But generally speaking, the small powerful country will never dare to fight back head-on. Even if it is stubborn, a few indifferent responses will be considered as a little courage for the small country. What about Zinhaigyo? This guy is good. On that day, the overlord made a threat. Zinhei didn't think about how to resolve the overlord's anger, nor did he think about offering any benefits. He blocked the overlord's mouth, but it was direct and without any tricks. Fight hard? Well, if you want to start a war with our country, you can go ahead. Do you know how big the gap in national power between the two sides is? The Zinhei kingdom really became so popular because it defeated more than a dozen small countries. The whole planet was in an uproar for a while. Even the overlord country itself was a little slow in reacting because they did not expect that Zinhei kingdom would dare to say such a thing, because I am afraid that their senior officials did not expect that Zinhei kingdom would dare to respond to them like this. Finally, on the third day, the overlord finally became furious. The small country of Zinhei actually dares to say such things to a big country in the world. It seems necessary to teach this small country that has always been on the edge of the world a lesson. Otherwise, they will not know that the real powerful country on this planet is, how should we behave? The words spoken by the overlord country did not say that they really wanted to attack Zinhei kingdom, but the countries that knew the overlord country's behavior already felt that if Zinhei kingdom did not lower its attitude, I am afraid that the overlord country's anger would not be so easy to calm down. Under such circumstances, if the Xinyi kingdom is willing to give up huge benefits, such as giving up the territory of one or two of the more than a dozen countries it has annexed, giving it to the overlord country as escrow, or giving up the trustworthiness of Xinyi, all the interests of several extremely profitable industries in the Black Country, that is, opening up these interests to make money for the hegemonic country, can still put this matter to rest. And many countries that played with fire, in the end, had no choice but to use this method to keep their country's fire from being destroyed by the overlord. When things have reached this point, other countries that are paying attention to Zinhei country are no longer just looking at the war between more than a dozen small countries in the backward areas of the planet. Because the global hegemon is involved, the matter has risen to the entire world. Safety issues. You must know that in the history of this planet, there have been several world wars. It was precisely because small countries rebelled against big countries, and ultimately due to various factors, they led to global wars. Many countries have been working hard to mediate such conflicts for fear of triggering another world war, which would affect them. Especially small countries like Zinhei country do not understand world etiquette and have no respect for big countries at all, because they have never been a big country before, have not played in this club for long, and are not used to secret relations between countries. However, the Zinhei kingdom definitely has the power to trigger a large-scale war. Regardless of his current strength, the land is already large enough, and there are many interests involved. Maybe it is because of a certain distribution of interests, or because of Zinhei. The Black Country uses certain means to pull other countries into the water, and gradually it will turn into a world war. For a time, the entire international community stepped forward to mediate the grievances between the Zinhei country and the overlord country. Of course, most of them are to advise the Shinkuro country to abide by the current international community practices, pursue the policy of small countries giving way to big countries, and give benefits to the hegemonic country. In response to such behavior, Zinhaigyo, on the one hand, frantically gathered recruits trained as domestic pilots, while on the other hand, it remained extremely tough. The entire international community has nothing to do with this smelly, hard, rock-like country. Are you telling him about the traditions on the planet? Sorry, I used to be a small country and have been bullied by many big countries. I don't understand the traditions between big countries at all. If you wanted to abide by it, then well, spit out the interests that have been occupied by Xinhai country for so many years. Come out. This is the end of the story. In the relationship between countries, either you take advantage of me, or I take advantage of you. In essence, no matter who takes advantage of the exchange, as long as it is not too much. Share, which will promote greater prosperity for both parties. It is believed that if Black country insists on talking about something so long ago, there will be no way to talk about it. Gradually, many countries condemned the Xinhai country from moral and ethical grounds, as well as rationale, because no one believed that the small and iron-headed country, which was on the opposite side of the entire planetary country, could really be the opponent of the hegemonic country. Whether it is a hot war, a trade war, or some kind of diplomatic war, why should the Xinhai country fight against the overlord? And in this situation where international public opinion is intensifying, there is unprecedented unity within the Shinkuro country. Seeing that the top leaders of the country have almost become a one-spoken party, everyone has to stand up and fight tough with the outside countries. When the talk was going on, the people felt proud and proud. When did their mere belief in the Black country actually stir up trouble in the world? Although many people know that there are other planets outside of this planet, there are not many visitors from other planets, and no one has established extensive diplomatic relations with this small planet, so no one will bring this world to the world. Connect with the outside world. The so-called world is this planet, and the strongest country on this planet is nothing more than the overlord. The people of Xinhai country never dreamed that today, Xinhai country would straighten its back and start a confrontation with the overlord country. This was so exciting to the people. That's not the only exciting thing. While waging war with the whole world, the battle between the Xinyi kingdom and the 12 kingdoms has been going on for more than a month. Finally, in a battle between the largest country of the 12 kingdoms and the combined territories of the Xinyi kingdom and the Xinbei kingdom, the entire 12 kingdoms war was declared over after the final war between the largest neighboring countries in terms of territory. They completely occupied all 12 countries. Internally, Nobue Kingdom calls this war a anti-encirclement war, which means that after they destroy Nobuhiro Kingdom, the surrounding countries will launch an encirclement and extermination war against them, and they are doing it entirely out of self-defense. These countries were destroyed at the same time. All the other countries in the outside world called this war the War of the Invasion of the 12 Nations by the Shinkuro Kingdom. From a different perspective, it is understandable that they understand it this way. After all, it seems to be the fact. But there is no way to argue with how you understand things from whatever perspective you stand on. Xinhai Kingdom will definitely return the 12 kingdoms to their people. Yes, this is a complete act of aggression by Xinhai and the international community cannot tolerate it. Countries on the entire planet, because the overlord country has expressed its stance before, and the Xinhai Kingdom's faction has refused to unite with anyone and refuses to give up any benefits, there is almost no country that is willing to stand beside Xinhai Kingdom. Everyone unanimously condemned it, even countries far away on the other half of the planet, at this moment, stood unswervingly on the side of the overlord. There seems to be an uproar around the entire Xinyi Kingdom. After occupying the territory of the 12 countries, the new neighbor countries are completely ready to move. They have even sent large armies to the border to confront the troops of the former country's border army that the Xinyi Kingdom has taken over. Stand up. At this moment, the atmosphere between both parties reached a critical moment. The Xinhai Kingdom is like people betraying each other. Oh no, it should be said that they had no close ties in the first place. Even the countries that had diplomatic relations with the Xinhai Kingdom in the past, Due to the general trend and the fact that they did not have a good relationship in the first place, they directly defected. The attack caused the entire Xinhe kingdom to fall into a deep diplomatic quagmire. Even this quagmire is likely to develop into a posture of being ambushed from all sides and being attacked from both sides. Sitting in the current capital of the Xinhe kingdom, which was also the original highest capital city of the Xinhe kingdom, Jia Yan slowly looked at the information in his hand. Marshal Yan, the situation is really urgent now. If we retreat, then most of the interests of the 12 countries we have won will probably be taken away by these wolf-like countries. They may even ask us to hand over 5 of them. The territories of 6 countries are because they do not allow us to grow, but if those territories are handed over, our country's interests in this war will be reduced, and even the people at home will be dissatisfied. The new secretary analyzed Jia Yan's remarks coldly below. The new secretary, Jia Yan, was satisfied. She neither teased nor refuted Jia Yan's remarks. She honestly finished her intelligence and analysis every time. Whatever Jia Yan said afterward, she would do as he said. She did a pretty good job conveying orders and even leaving some things to her. Compared to the previous secretary, she was much better. He. After Jia Yan listened to the secretary's words and her worries, he smiled slightly. Looking for books. The smile was full of disdain. He paused. The secretary thought that Jia Yan wanted to say something. Unexpectedly, Jia Yan actually said something irrelevant. Are you okay recently? I took the fleet captured by our country out to sea to welcome a little friend of mine. I feel her coming, but I don't know what form she is now. Whether the fleet is going to protect this little friend. This is a small matter, can you complete it? Promise to complete Marshal Jia Yan's mission. A hint of speechlessness flashed across the secretary's beautiful face. In the end, she could only nod and personally took over Jia Yan's task. You know, she is now Jia Yan's special secretary. She is also very curious about who Jia Yan sent her to pick up in person. Although there is no exact information about the person, Mr. Jia Yan gave almost the same direction. You should be able to find it by then. But Marshal Jia Yan, what should we do about this threat from the Overlord? Should we give up some interests? I think if we are willing to exchange the territories of 3 countries, maybe they will agree. The remaining 9 countries' territories, in addition, the Xinbei kingdom we annexed before will be enough for our Xinhe kingdom to develop rapidly for 10 or even 20 years. When the wings are full, it should be no problem to deal with the overlords. The secretary, who originally didn't say much about his opinions, couldn't help but comfort Jia Yan. She was very worried that this marshal, who acted very grandly and did not know how to give in, would do something hot-headed. From her point of view, the current Xinhe country could not be the opponent of the overlord country, let alone other countries. It seems that he is also on the side of the overlord country. In this case, he is the enemy of the entire world. If the black country does this, it will be torn into pieces. It takes a genius to remember the address of this website in 1 second. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2569. Unexpectedly, Jia Yan waved his hand directly after she finished speaking. Well, your advantage is that you don't judge my orders. Now your task is to personally pick up the people I want you to pick up. I have my own way to deal with the overlord country. After saying that, the secretary, who was familiar with Jia Yan's policy, finally nodded helplessly and stepped back gently. She knew that she could say no more, otherwise she would not be defeated by Jia Yan, but would be fired to another department like the previous secretary. In fact, except for Jia Yan, other senior officials of the Xinhe kingdom, including the spokesperson, were already trembling. If you pay attention, you can find that the spokesperson seems to be overbearing and indifferent when answering reporters' questions. Behind his flinching words was his slightly trembling tone. Fortunately, he was used to acting, so no one could tell the difference. If Jia Yan hadn't forced him to be so tough, he wouldn't have dared. Generally speaking, regardless of whether it was forced by Jia Yan or not, the entire Xinhe kingdom today is filled with a certain kind of honeyed self-confidence. A large number of citizens are blinded by the results of Lin Zhan and Lianjia. They have changed their previous anti-war thinking and become unprecedented support for Jia Yan. They even had some extreme minds that were not easy to use. They posted words on the internet, saying that they supported Jia Yan in declaring war on the overlord country. They believed that Jia Yan could pull the overlord country from its position of impregnable absolute planetary hegemony. You know, the people on this planet, especially those with low strength, cannot distinguish so many things about strength. Far above the earth, there were a large number of ordinary people who could not distinguish between technological weapons and equipment. For example, the people of Curry country, who were not well educated and had low IQs, were so confident that they thought they were a superpower. In this world, the situation is even more serious. There are not only technological weapons, but also a large number of practitioners of different categories, such as magic, fighting spirit, cultivation, and special strong people, such as the devil. A brave man may not look very strong at ordinary times, but when his fighting power breaks out, he is comparable to the top strong men. As a result, the people couldn't tell who was strong and who was weak. Anyway, the Xinhe kingdom had defeated 13 countries in a row and won all of them. For them, the self-confidence they gradually developed was no joke. I directly believe that my country is the king of heaven. Marshal Jia Yan, can I give up my position as Generalissimo to you? Stop fighting now. If we continue to fight, I believe the black country may really be destroyed. However, no one dared to come and say anything to Jia Yan face to face, but it does not mean that the general who had cultivated Jia Yan and had a little grace to meet him did not dare to come and express his views and opposition to Jia Yan. Manner. Others were afraid of Jia Yan, but he was not that afraid. At least in his opinion, this strong young man would not attack someone casually. Oh, Lord Generalissimo, I don't want your position as Generalissimo. I'm not interested in this kind of title. Tell me why you said that. Jia Yan was calm and composed, placing his hands in a triangle shape on his desk, as if he was listening to the instructions. What I mean is very simple, that is, your approach will definitely make us believe that the Black Kingdom will be destroyed. Even if you win consecutive battles, you should also know very well that the national strength of the Black Kingdom will not defeat the Overlord country, let alone those little minions behind the Overlord country. The Generalissimo said with a rather solemn expression. He originally wanted to see how far Jia Yan could go, so he initially accepted the young man's request for military command. But as he watched, he realized within a few days that he couldn't control this young man at all. By the time of the 12 Kingdoms War, the Grand Marshal had long been forgotten. Young people in the entire country only remember Jia Yan, the Marshal Yan who led the entire Xinhe kingdom and destroyed the old enemies in Bei Kingdom. As for the Generalissimo? What the hell, he's just a has-been old man. The Generalissimo is great, but he's not at the same level as Marshal Jia Yan, who pacified the Xinbei kingdom in a few days. Okay. The old man may still remember the Generalissimo, but that's all. No one thinks that the Generalissimo can be compared with Marshal Yan. Nowadays, many commanders have approached the Generalissimo and asked him to preach to Jia Yan. It is best to talk through Jia Yan and make him a little softer on the forces of other countries in the outside world. At least, he can convince the Black country. In the extremely severe international forces that will follow, there will be more room for survival. Haha, Lord Marshal, I remember I told you at the beginning, what is my purpose? Jia Yan looked unconcerned. Purpose, 1. To conquer this planet within 1 year? I said, You won't take this matter seriously, right? The Grand Marshal only wondered if he had heard the most bizarre words. To conquer this planet within a year, to be honest, when he first heard it, he just thought it was a child's fantasy, a fairy tale-like rhetoric. But now, after Jia Yan used his actions to conquer more than a dozen countries around him in more than a month, he finally felt that this child didn't look like he was telling lies. Yes, Jia Yan, do what I say. Besides, haven't you seen? I secretly transport supplies on a large scale within the country and the countries I rule in order to prepare for the next bigger battle. As a marshal with a higher military rank than the current Jia Yan, how could he not know what Jia Yan was doing? He also understood that Marshal Yan was really preparing for a bigger battle. Young man, you are right to prepare supplies. Those supplies are indeed enough to support a larger war. But the more important point is, what should you do with your troops? Let alone the millions of troops that destroyed the 12 countries. At this point, those troops must now be placed in the 13 countries including Xinbei Kingdom. Otherwise, the various forces and resistance forces in these 13 countries will be enough for us to drink a pot, and may even become the power of a spark. So, since we have to use almost all the troops at the moment to maintain these 13 countries, what should we do if we have the troops to start a war immediately? Although the Generalissimo also admired Jia Yan's ability to single-handedly make the Xinhai kingdom unprecedentedly powerful, he did not believe in Jia Yan's ability. A general without troops would only be a polished commander no matter how strong he was. He still didn't believe it. Jia Yan can conjure troops out of thin air. Jia Yan probably knew that the marshal would talk to him about the issue of military strength, so he confidently picked up the teapot and brewed a cup of tea for the marshal. Drink. I collected this tea from the home of a senior executive in the Northwest country. It tastes pretty good. The Grand Marshal had no choice but to pick up the teacup and take a sip, but his eyes were a little bright. Because he is also a tea lover. But his thoughts were not affected by this mere cup of tea. The tea is nice, but please answer my previous question. Jia Yan also took a sip of tea, and then said bluntly, in the next battle, I am going to use those reserve forces. Aren't there still a large number of troops in the country that I have urgently trained? In addition, the reserve forces who have retired and those who have had combat training graduates, etc., I am afraid we can draw more than 30 million troops. Puff. At this point, the Generalissimo had already spit out tea. After all, Jia Yan's words really surprised him, and he also felt that this young man's brain had been kicked by a donkey. You must know that the reason why the reserve force is a reserve force shows that their combat effectiveness is very different from that of the general army. Even if some of them are veterans, these veterans have not been trained, and they have no previous experience in such a large-scale war. Is it possible? Actual combat capability is another matter. Moreover, even if the qualities of reserve veterans are exactly the same as those of current soldiers on the battlefield, their number is only a mere 3 to 4 million, and many of them are too old. According to Jia Yan, including all graduated students, this is a population of tens of millions, but what is the population of the entire Xinhai kingdom? With a population of more than 100 million and 200 million, tens of millions of people are going to war. Is this a situation where the entire country is going to be wiped out? What's more, no one knows whether those recruits who are not from the reserve force and have no war experience will be directly destroyed by the enemy when they go to the battlefield. Have you set your sights on the graduates? Oh my God, you are trying to make us believe in the destruction of the Black Kingdom, right? I don't agree, there is nothing wrong with this. Something that might be agreed upon. The general's face turned red. He felt that he might not be Jia Yan's opponent, but he also showed a posture of preparing to fight Jia Yan desperately. As a warrior who had protected the Xinhai kingdom for hundreds of years, even though he knew that he was inferior to Jia Yan in every aspect, he still made a gesture of determined to live or die with the country. Don't. Jia Yan smiled bitterly and waved his hand. We haven't reached that point yet. I'm just talking. In the next war, I am prepared to bring the country's already existing reserves to the table. If the condition is good, maybe next time they will be enough for a large-scale war, and then the millions of soldiers here will be separated from the 13 kingdoms, and they can be recycled again. In other words, the military strength is not so stretched. If you say that, you won't give up on continuing the overseas conquest even if you die, right? The Grand Marshal felt that he must have come to the wrong place to talk to Jia Yan. This young marshal was probably quite a man of death. Yes, I will not give up, and I will definitely win. No matter it is a hegemonic country or some worldwide coalition army, we believe that the Black Country will rule this planet. It is a sure thing. From me, I will become the marshal. No, from me this has been a given since I was born in this country. Jia Yan's strong confidence and his overwhelming aura when he spoke made the Generalissimo fall silent again. Once upon a time, he was such an energetic young man, but now that young man has become an old man, his great ambition seems to have disappeared, precisely because he understands the real face of this world. The real world is not a world that he can conquer with his own ambition and what he wants to achieve. Huh. The Grand Marshal let out a long breath. He really wanted to take action just now, because he thought that even if he couldn't beat Jia Yan, he might still be able to slightly hurt the boy in front of him, and maybe he would. It affected the subsequent demise of the Shinkuro kingdom. But after seeing Jia Yan's attitude and hearing him express his accurate confidence in the war, he changed his mind a little. Jia Yan, you are the strangest person I have ever seen. This has nothing to do with your age. I think even if you are older than me, you will not be an ordinary person, so I can tolerate your continued impulsiveness this time. If you fail in the next war, I will find a way to wipe your butt and make you step down from your current position. So you have to know that in the whole process, you will not have even one chance of failure, even if it is just one. I won't tolerate even the failure of a small battle. The Generalissimo said with bright eyes. Maybe even he himself didn't believe that the current Jia Yan could be shaken, but he happened to say his threatening words in front of Jia Yan. Because otherwise, he would not be able to make up his mind. Jia Yan would not have any change in his mentality if he found Xu Yuan. Even if it was just because of these words, Jia Yan had a little respect for his general. He was willing to take care of the lives of soldiers even slightly in his next actions. Ci is not in charge of the army. The general has killed many young soldiers over the years, but that is a necessary sacrifice, and the number is not too many. But in Jia Yan's case, if he makes a mistake, he may be killed several times. The sacrifice of tens of thousands or even tens of millions of soldiers is absolutely intolerable to the Generalissimo. Okay, I think I won't let you down. Well, I have to go to work now, so please do it yourself. Jia Yan shook his head, as if his mood hadn't changed much. The Generalissimo was stunned for a long time, then nodded in confusion and walked out of Jia Yan's office. He didn't even know whether what he had said so much and threatened Jia Yan without fear of death had any effect, or whether it had made Jia Yan less sensitive to him. But as long as he did it, he believed that he was worthy of the conscience of heaven and earth. As a country's marshal, he has already resigned after reaching this point. Next, it depends on whether Marshal Jia Yan really has the ability to further cause another huge wave on this planet, or, we believe that the Black Country will be completely destroyed. When the Generalissimo walked out of the current Marshal Yan's mansion, a marshal's mansion that was more than 10 times larger than his own, he sat in his special car and looked back deeply at a certain place. Office. It seemed that through this office, he could see the Marshal Yan who looked like a boy, but his behavior was unpredictable and did not look like a boy at all. It takes a genius to remember the address of this website in 1 second.